Hello, everyone! Welcome to Indie Game Club. Actually, hold on. I don't know if the audio is right. Give me 1 second to make sure. Can you guys say something real quick? This is how professional we are.
Hello.
Yes, it's coming through. Okay, this is the quality you've come to expect from the wonderful folks at Indie Game Club. Hey, everybody! My name is Michael Zytkow. I'm the founder and executive director of Potions and Pixels, based here in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. We're a nonprofit organization that does a lot of cool work around games, creating social impact through games. So make sure to check us out at potionsandpixels.com. But of course, you are here to watch and hear this amazing group of individuals discuss this week's group of indie games. We got 4 games lined up for you. 4 games. Super excited about that. I know we're competing with the Game Awards, so I implore you, don't switch away. Mom, whoever's watching, please keep watching.
We want you just convince them that we are watching it.
Yes, we have a special appearance, as you can see there. Jeff Keighley in his Pope Dorito hat with his Mountain Dew is on deck doing double duty at the Game Awards and dropping here at Indie Game Club. So we're super excited about that. Let's get to this amazing panel that we have here. Of course, most people here you probably recognize if you regularly watch Indie Game Club. A lot of amazing recurring and returning guests. Super excited to have you all, as always. Let's start off above me right here with Amar. Amar, can you introduce yourself and all that good stuff for the audience, please?
Oh my gosh, I was trying to come up with something smart to say. The winner of the Game Awards, the Potions of Pixels fan, but I'm Amar Ahmed. I'm local in Charlotte. Hobbyist game developer, I guess. If you want to find me, I'll probably drop some links around. But
Love it.
yeah, and also most importantly, a big fan of Potions of Pixels. So I'm glad to be here.
Big fan of you, my friend. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. And if I don't know if you dropped your Twitch chat in the Discord, but Layla can drop that in the Twitch chat for everybody to see. We are, of course, streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So definitely feel free to communicate through any of those methods. But let's clap it up for Amar. Always excited to have you, man. Appreciate you very much. Looking forward to whatever hot takes you have today. Cool.
It's Grumpy Amar coming in today.
Grumpy Amar. Oh, cool. I can't wait. I always love when we have like differing views on things. It always makes for a fun conversation. All right. Next up on that top row, we have Angelic Layla. Angelic Layla, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm Angelic Layla. I'm here with all of these lovely people that I love to talk to about indie games every Thursday. Thank you again for having me.
Of course.
You can find me on Twitch, playing Shinobi Striker, and all my social media is the same as Angelic Layla. You can also find me in Athena Alliance as one of the Stream Team goddesses, as well as Legend. I don't know which way I think she's down.
Right below you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that one. But you can find hi. You can find us there as well. Thank you again for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much, Layla. Always appreciate you. Let's clap it up for Angelic Layla. Layla, and if you don't mind dropping that Twitch link in there and all them social digits so people can follow you, definitely appreciate you all for doing that. Make sure to show some love to all of the amazing folks we have here. We already got a comment. Reanime Joe saying, "Gay Amar, get yourself some crabs." Of course, I'm assuming he's referring to crab volleyball and not something else, Amar. So I'm excited to have you. And if you haven't played crab volleyball on Itch, that's Amar's game. It's a really cool game. Go definitely get yourself some crabs for sure. Endorsement from Indie Game Club. All right, next at the top, we got a special double feature. We have Derivative and Jeff Keighley there. Derivative, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so I'm Derivative. I stream games that are overlooked and underrepresented. So the indiest of indies, I guess you could say.
I love it.
I've been doing it for the last 3 some odd years. Over 250 games from Itch alone.
That's
featured. Awesome. I'm glad to be back. And I've got over here, Jeff.
It's like Jeff is like, I like how Angelic Layla's there and you have on another shoulder Jeff Keighley. Like you have these little angel devil little heads telling you whatever about indie games. Well, we appreciate you being on, Derivative, as always. Super excited to have you and Jeff on today. Let's clap it up, everyone, for Derivative. All right, moving on to this bottom row here. Tony Taiga 90. Tony, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hey, guys. My name's Tony. Go by Tony Taiga 90. Not too much of a streamer. I like to say all the time, hey, my name's Tony, and I like to play video games. A few games that I have in rotation right now, I'm actually playing this series called Outbreak, which is very similar to the Resident Evil series. Hope to, possibly reach out to the developer and get them involved in Indie Game Club sometime soon. But, of course, want to finish the game. Again, thank you, everyone, for joining us compared to the awards show. Any announcements you can just find on Twitter. So there you go. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, we should support the small guy, right? Support the small guys, guys and gals. All. I shouldn't say it that way. Support the small ones, whatever it may be. All right, appreciate you. I don't know what I'm doing. This is typical of you.
Very much small energy.
Let's clap it up for Tony. Thank you, Tony, so much.
Oh yeah. I forgot to. I wanted to show you guys this.
Oh, I love that.
And this is for the in-laws, the wife and the in-laws.
I love that.
All I want is video games.
You're going to get a DMCA take-on from Nintendo.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to fight them. We're ready to fight them for sure.
I love it. Oh, I love that.
I got a little holiday. Mine's a little subversive, but you can see the little gaming, the little Pokemon sweater.
That's cool.
Yeah. Try to rock that. A little
cool.
happy...
my little Christmas cardigan. Well, I have. This is actually it's funny. This is actually my maternity one. When I was pregnant with my girls, it's my favorite sweater, so I can't get rid of it.
I feel ya.
I don't know about you, but for the women that know, pregnancy clothes are so comfortable.
Maybe we should get some all Christmas gear.
I think my favorite was
episode.
the pants.
Oh my god, yes. So when it just like kind of, I loved it. I love that. Yeah.
Shout out to maternity pants for sure.
There's that.
Big shout
I
out.
never need the shirts though. I was really tiny.
I only wore like maybe like large in shirts, like by normal, I guess normal clothes, but as the maternity pants, man, those were lovely. I loved them.
I'll yeah. I don't have anything to say about it. I take your word for it. Totally. I think we have some maternity stuff somewhere here. Well, while we're on you, Legend, last but not least, the indie game goddess herself. You want to introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yes, hi. So that's kind of me. Anyway, go off on these weird tangents. But so I'm Legend of the Star. I stream mainly on Twitch. You can find me on most of social media platforms. So like, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, under Legend of the Star. And of course, as mentioned, we are part of the Athena Alliance Goddess stream team. I mostly just play indies. That's what I do. I like indies. I love it. It's my life. I think more indies. Hey, without indies, we wouldn't have video games, in my opinion.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
I feel
so
you.
I'm proud to play as many indies as I possibly can. I had no idea, Derivative, that you played that many on it. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's quite the record.
That is crazy. Like I was just thinking, I was like, I wonder how many I have. Like I've only really been hardcore playing indies the past year, maybe year and a half. But wow, that's impressive.
And Derivative actually has has me now cataloging like everything I played. So I've
got a curated list just on itch that says everything I've played.
And everything he wants to play as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Really?
I love that.
I have that in my little in my little book.
Yeah, I have your recommendations, Legend, that you've been sending. I have those like lined up.
The last two are kind of goofy. It's like I have to like the cat and the unicorn. I thought it was hilarious.
I'm looking forward to checking those out for sure. Let's clap it up for Legend of the Star. Thank you as always for being here. We really appreciate it.
I love it.
All right, folks. Well, we got 4 games lined up for today. I'll hit you with those real quick. We have Gutwhale, Un Pas Fragile, El Tango De La Muerte, and Circa Infinity. But before we jump into those, I am curious. Obviously, we are competing with the Indie Game Awards right now, which are streaming live. I hate to keep talking about it because every time I talk about it, I think one person leaves the audience and the viewership. Oh, okay, that's odd. Any thoughts? We talked a bit about in a little chat that we have before the show that several of you were jumping in on. Any thoughts about the indie game category this year and just the Game Awards in general?
Yeah.
I mean,
Can someone else be the positive person? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think indies are given enough credit in shows like these, and it's really disappointing. Like, they maybe showcase like 1 or 2, but there isn't any. And I'm planning content. Like, I'm actually trying my best to become like a semi-organized like streamer, whatever that may be. So I've been looking at a lot of new games that are coming out, that are going to come out. And it just, I don't know, man. They're good. I gotta say, I'm highly impressed with how indies have been showing up lately, and to have it not showcased in a big award show like this, when there's so much talent out there, is really disappointing. So I don't watch these shows. I always kind of follow the Twitter afterwards. A few days, or, I don't really pay attention to it, because to me, it really just not my jam. I'm impressed with the new stuff that's coming out, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I
think that's badass and dope, and like, support me if you want to sponsor me, I'll play your game, you know what I'm saying? But it's just not fun for me, because it's really just not my jam.
Yeah. We should say, I'll go over the 5 games real quick. It's Carrion, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer are the 5 indie games up for Best Indie of the Year. They also do have a category, which I appreciate them having each year. It's Games for Impact, which traditionally seems to... I think it's interesting that with the Games for Impact category, those naturally tend to be the indie games, right? For the most part. And so I think that's kind of telling as well, which I think is...
I was going to say, isn't like 2 of the... Isn't like two of the ones up for best indie like Devolver Digital games?
Carrion is Devolver.
Like I want to say
Digital.
Carrion and Fall Guys are both Devolver Digital.
Oh yeah, Fall Guys is Devolver. That's right. That's right. Oh, wow, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, I know we were
I'm
talking
out
about
of
this
caffeine.
briefly in the chat. Do we feel like these are the 5? Do these games represent the 5 best indies of the year? I've played all
Nope.
of these except one.
Not even close.
Not even close. Like,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
is Phasmophobia on there? Like, they take these games that have been out for. Look at how quickly Phasmophobia became popular. Look at how quickly Among Us became popular. You know,
Yeah.
why aren't these?
Among Us
these
is
like
nominated for
Dragon-
best mobile, we should say, and I
Yeah,
believe
would
it's.
say-
I mean,
I would-
it's not
I would
mainly a
say-
mobile game.
Yeah, I would say these games are like definitely by me being involved in Indie Game Club, and as you guys probably been seeing every week, there are some awesome indie games out there. I think these are the indie games that got the huge machine push, the publisher
Yeah.
push. What I can say is that it's interesting because like what they consider indie games, even like Devolver Digital and stuff like that, they're indie. I guess they're considered indie, but they're more the larger ones. They're definitely not one guy in the basement. You know, they're not one guy in the basement developing games. Which some of the
And they're
games,
certainly
yeah,
good
yeah,
games.
Yeah,
Yeah, the kind of games that they feature on there is why I don't specifically say I stream indie games.
Yeah, there you go.
Hmm.
It's because
Um,
like there's these indie titles that are like 200-person studios, but the fact
Yes.
that they don't have a publisher.
Yeah.
Are
Still
we
considered
being a
indie.
little too to be a bit snobby and pretentious? in
I
this?
don't. So I don't
I
think.
want my indie developer in a treehouse, and I want them with one typewriter and a laptop, and I want them just like coding and whatnot. But no, I think technically they are, I guess, considered indie games. But definitely we have reviewed some games on this channel that are very very good that might only have one person as a developer, and I
Yeah.
definitely put it out to those guys because they don't have large budgets. They don't have
Right.
most of the time they have day jobs. So definitely give it a shade for give it up for those guys. And
Yeah.
Hades I'm a big fan of Hades.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
I'm glad.
And
I'm glad you're a fan.
quick
Yeah.
shout out, real quick, to our good friend Mystic Tightness, who I just saw subscribed. Thank you so much, Mystic Tightness. We got a lot of love for you. And if you haven't checked out Mystic Tightness, got a lot of love for the awesome cosplay that she recently did.
Yeah,
She did such an amazing job. Her and
Gorgeous.
her husband
gorgeous, pure fire.
did a cosplay of a famous picture with Cyborg. And I guess Cyborg and Cyborg's wife. Like I don't know the full backstory behind the picture itself.
They're Teen Titans. I think it's Bumblebee.
Bumblebee. Okay, my fault.
Yeah.
I don't know the in and outs of it all, but I know that she did such her and her husband did such an amazing job with that. So shout out to her for that. Make sure to Layla, do you mind dropping that link in there, maybe her Instagram or something in there? Layla's our resident tech
Yeah, I know.
expert here, so I appreciate that. Let me read a couple more comments, and I know several of you have thoughts about the Game Awards, so I definitely want to make sure that is there for sure. King of the Nerds saying Fall Guys is so hype, I feel like it's not an indie title. King of the Nerds, that's a really good question. Also, I see Reanimate Joe saying have to agree with you, King. Vimy, an indie game developer whose game we covered 2 weeks ago, actually saying indie means you don't spend the GDP of a small nation just to market your game.
That is so funny.
Reanimate Joe, he's saying the guy wearing shades in his house is pretentious. Nah, say it ain't so. I love it. I love it. Thanks, Reanimate Joe. A constant theme of this show is to keep me in check, so I appreciate that for sure. So we definitely want to hear more from you about this. But is that fair? I guess, like, before this chat, I was definitely knocking, like, Among Us and Fall Guys being in there, not because they're not indie necessarily, but they're also, I don't feel like the most innovative or really pushing the envelope. Is it fair though? Do we get a little too pretentious in this area and like want to call people out for being indie or not?
My biggest problem with it is that I just feel like it's taking space from the indie category. Like
Yes.
almost all the games in there, except for I think Carry On was the only one that I'm like, okay, I remember that one when that was in development. But
Yeah.
all the other ones are coming in, I think, from like studios that have like pretty much like professional developers working
Yeah.
on those games. And why not just call them games at this point? Maybe I just play. Maybe it's just that most of the games that I play now are just indie, and I don't think of them as being indie and so on. But like something like Hades, for example, like You know, like the 3 games before that, from all the way from Bastion, like it was like that's more than 10 years ago. Like we know that this game was going to be good. We saw like
Yeah.
the footage and everything. So I feel like there's other games that could have been featured in there. Like there's a lot of like like things like, and I know there's probably a category for like student games and stuff like that.
There is, yeah.
But
well, for the
but
IGF.
but those are the kind of games that I want to see. You know, like the new up and comer, the new pushing the the envelope of like what games can do, which is like a lot of the games that you featured we featured on this show.
Yeah.
Those are the stuff that I wanted to see. Even probably some VR, but like all the games that they have in there, like they're kind of like from categories that we saw before. We know that they are good games. Some of them are like like Fall Guys, or like it was like featured and like I was like on PlayStation as well, and like on the homepage of Steam. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what is indie anymore if you're gonna call something like this, to be like a small indie studio, because there's other people who like the smaller fish is like in the sea, like they want the marketing as well. So like having this awards show, which is mostly marketing, I would say, but having this awards show like showcasing these games would have been like really appreciated, and
that's a great point.
Would have drove a lot for a lot.
So what I hear is Cyberpunk 2077 for Indie Game of the Year, huh?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, right. Like CD Projekt Red is like they're doing their thing. It's like all of the check boxes for what we call indie is in there.
I do got some love for CD Projekt Red, considering that they are a Polish developer. My whole family is Polish, and I will say that they had their roots. Like I had their like first projects when they were localizing. I bought like a localized Baldur's Gate, a Polish version, and all that stuff. So I do got some love there. A couple quick things before we get back to the conversation. Shout out to Jeff 2.0 for the subscription. Thank you so much, Jeff. We really appreciate the love you're showing into Game Club. Really appreciate that a lot. And also thank you RMG7789 for following. We love y'all. Thank you. It's exciting when we're going up against the Game Awards and talking all this stuff, to have folks who are interested in talking about this type of content. I will say to Amar, to your point, that we have seen some cases where indie games truly have broke through, and this kind of goes to Legends' point that at the end of the day, a lot of the most pioneering like mechanics typically come from the indie space. I mean, a couple good examples. I mean, Untitled Goose Game last year swept a lot of awards, even beyond indie games. Minecraft, of course, was famous for that as well. So there are opportunities for that. It's just kind of it's not the norm, I would say. Typically, they are relegated to. It's kind of like how animated movies in the Oscars. It's kind of relegated to its own separate, or foreign movies, typically outside of last year's, famous historic win. So there's that element. Layla, I'm curious what you think here, because you probably straddle a really good balance of the AAA to indie side of things. Are you silent because you want to call us out as being pretentious, or what's the reason? What's the reason there? What are your thoughts on all this? Uh-oh, you're on mute, Layla. There you go. Or that. Yes.
That was not a user error.
Of course it wasn't. No one saw that. Nobody saw it. What I was saying was kind of like what Legend was saying, was I don't really hone in on these types of events or these types of awards. The only ones that I really focus on is obviously like E3 and whatnot, but that's just me as a person, because of all the things that we know that I personally do. I just have so much stuff on my plate, so when it is something like this, I would rather check on like social media, or like have these conversations with y'all, or like to try to get caught up on that stuff. So I'm kind of glad that we do this, and because from my perspective as a person who doesn't follow up on it, it's nice to hear about it and learn about it in ways like this, because this would be my first choice to do. But yeah, personally, I agree with you guys are saying. Like, indies don't get the certain amount of credit or spotlight that it should, especially because these games that are up for nomination or whatnot, I've played many of the ones that we've played here, and I enjoy those better than those games. So it's like but I wouldn't be exposed to them if I wasn't doing this, y'all. So it's just kind of like perspective for everything for me. It's putting
That's a really good
in
point.
the world, and just because like I said, it's just not something that I would be doing. But I'm glad I'm doing because I get to do it with y'all.
I totally feel you on that, because at the end of the day, like, I think what I love about that is, like, it's easy to be pretentious about all these things with music and film, be like, oh, but you don't know about this or know about that. But it's to your point exactly, that there are people that simply don't know about this stuff, and not a broader enough audience. So we definitely, it's fun to do this, not only to spread the word, hopefully highlight games that people may or may not like, but hopefully are interested in checking out. Which, speaking of which, we don't really, I guess we're so indie, we don't do this enough. But for those who are watching right now, please spread the word about Indie Game Club. Like, I feel like maybe we're so indie that we want to keep the audience just to, like, you know, us and our moms. But we would love for you to spread the word on social media. We definitely want more people to jump in here and appreciate the games that we are talking about. A couple comments before we jump into our first game. Tempest636, awesome man who was on the show last week, said, what award did this game get? Did I miss Game of the Year? No, Tempest, Gutwhale, it's on the screen right now. That's going to be the first game we're discussing. We actually haven't got to it yet, so I just wanted something on the screen. But we will be discussing that next. We've been mainly talking about the Game Awards and you know, indie representation there. Reanimate Joe saying, to be fair, the fact that you have 2 Devolver Digital titles kind of implies you aren't pretentious. You involve supported by a publisher. That's interesting, and I should say that the folks behind, who is it, Todd Wilson behind Devolver Digital? So many other people, but I know Todd Wilson and others, who was Gathering of Developers, God Games, if you remember that, publishing Max Payne and Serious Sam. Mm-hmm. He was also involved in some other publishing things. Those folks have been in the indie publishing side and, like, the pro developer side for years. So a lot of kudos to them. It can be kind of easy to, like, knock Devolver for being, like, the cool guy, like, one, and I feel that way sometimes too, but those guys have been indie for years, and they are responsible for raising let's jump into this first game, folks. Like, we have the first game right here, is Gutwhale. Let me read you all a description. Of course, those who are watching right now, you can see footage there, but Gutwhale is a finite roguelite about managing the space between you and your ammo while fighting your way through a digestive system. Descend down into the guts, try to keep your ammo close, unlock weird hats, and get crushed by a van. While Gutwhale's levels are randomly generated and it can be played forever, the game has a definite ending that you can reach in 1 to 7 hours, depending on your experience with similar games. Features smooth gameplay, 3 areas with unique enemies, game-changing hats to unlock, full controller support. Beating the game is only the beginning of the end. And we should also say that the developer here, the developer Stuffed Wombat, said that in the beginning of March I had to stop going to work because of the coronavirus and started the development of Gutwhale. Since then, 2 amazing developers have joined the project, and we will release Gutwhale in the beginning of April. So it's since been released. I am going to say straight up that I absolutely loved this game. I have much more to share about it, but I want to toss it over to you all first. Does that description I read cover everything, or is there some key things that you guys want to highlight? And what were your overall thoughts about it? I'll toss that to everybody.
Maybe explain, like, the gameplay of the game itself.
You explain it, Amar. Yeah. Tell us.
Okay, sure. So it has, like, a couple of multiple mechanics in it, but the general idea is that you are inside the guts of a whale, but you can think of it also as, like, a building when you are, like, at the highest floor, and when you kill all the enemies on each floor, you would drop down to the floor under it.
Yeah.
There's mechanics in it that are really cool, like having 1 bullet, and that one, like, using that 1 bullet is what you use to kill the enemies. So not only that you have to collect the bullet to shoot the enemies, and, you know, usually there's, like, 5 enemies, like, kind of like 3 fish or you know, like a mushroom or something like that. But every time you shoot the shot, you have and kill an enemy, hopefully, you have to collect the bullet again.
Yeah.
So you have to navigate your way into, like, avoiding all the enemies, getting that bullet, and then clearing the room. And once the room is cleared, you would fall down into the floor under. It has some roguelite elements as far as, like, you know, like unlockable hats and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Permadeath.
And there is, of course, like, some things like having like 3 lives per try. So like, you know, if you die, then you spawn again with 1 extra bullet. So now you have 2 bullets instead of 1.
Yeah.
That would make the level a little bit easier. But yeah, that's the idea really of the game. Is like you kind of keep falling. You have to kind of clear the floors, avoid all the enemies. 1 hit and you would die. It's really cool and has a lot of like cool details about it, like that I really liked.
I would definitely tie into that. I like the game too. I sucked at it. I really sucked at it. I think I only got like 35 points, and I got down to the 4th level down. But this is one of those games. If I were to, compare it to, it's one of those trial and error games. Very similar to like Thousand Spikes, or the games where like you get 1 hit, you die, and then you respawn all the way at the top, and then you got to go back downwards, down through the levels. And so the idea is that you're constantly learning. You're constantly learning as you get through each level and becoming with muscle memory of how you sort of navigate each level. Like I said, I only got about 4 levels down, but I tell you, I got about like an hour into the game, and I didn't do very well, but I enjoyed the game thoroughly. And like I said, if I had to compare it to anything, I would compare it to one of those games where if don't cry because you died. In fact, expect to die a lot, and then just navigate your way downwards.
Yeah, and it gets easier too. Like the roguelike element of it. Easier as far as like you unlock more items, and that would make the game a little bit easier for you with every play. So there's a persistent element to it too.
Yeah, that and when you start the descent, if you don't just keep hitting retry, you can then choose a different hat to say, okay, you normally start off with 3 hearts, I think is what it is, and again, it's 1 hit deaths.
Yeah.
But you could say, okay, I want a higher reward, but give me only 1 heart, or I want higher jumping, give me only 2 hearts.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's some other ones, like I think in my playthrough, I got what they call technically a beating the game. Like I think the demo, or the game itself had like an achievement that said like, technically the end or something along those lines. So I did get that far. I definitely not the whole hour to do that at least, which makes you think there's a lot more.
There is more, and I'm happy to go into that because I put some time into it to get like the full on ending.
Did you really?
Of
did
course.
You go, like,
I love this game. Well, I hate to say it because I definitely, after talking about pretentious stuff, I'm going to sound even more pretentious because I got to the final ending fairly quickly. I guess I'm really good at this game. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was really good at this one. Maybe that's why it clicked with me. I really enjoyed it so much.
It's like cogs were like always getting me.
Yeah, the enemy types. Yeah, and to Tony's point, it's interesting comparison because the trial and error definitely it's interesting you said that, Tony, because like when I think of Thousand Spikes or something else, I think of trial and error games having a very fixed level, right? Because it's like the error, you see exactly what you need to do. But I hear your comparison and I feel you on that because this is one of those games that like it's less trial and error about like navigating the level as much as the enemy types. And once you get like a feel for that and a feel for the hats, to Dirigitive's points about the different hats, like I love that you can play this game in different styles. So I started to play the style where you start off with, or you play the whole game with 1 health, but the reward, so you can get something like 700 points at the end of the level and like really rack things up.
Oh yeah, we never addressed what the points were for. With the points, like each time you go down a different level, you have like a moment, kind of, I guess the way I'll describe it is like Nuclear Throne, where it's like, you can use your points, or you can decide to like hold off on a bit. Well,
That's right.
Nuclear Throne didn't have that. That had like a level up system.
I know what you're talking about, though. It's common in roguelites. I think Dirigitive's talking about the points themselves. So, like, when you had the points after you cleared each... so, there's floors within a world, so to speak, and then the game ends after 3 worlds. So, the game's not long once you get used to it. In fact, like, you can get achievement for beating the game in under a minute. So, like, my fastest run, I think, was, like, 52 seconds to, like, clear the entire game. And in that case, you guys, I had to drop you see how I like smoothly dropped that in? Just 52 seconds, just to let y'all know. If anybody's interested, it's just the only time I'll be bragging about being able to do something.
The only time. You guys heard that, right? We're recording.
Exactly. Clip that. Okay. Derivative saying weird flex, but okay. Yes. But yeah, it's the points are really interesting because yes, you can spend them on items, but also to get the true ending of the game. And this didn't click with me immediately. Is that you have to achieve like there's like 6 achievements or sorts, and then you actually go to like the top of the level, and if you guys notice, it activates mouse controls. And once it activates these are total spoilers for those who are new to Indie Game Club. Spoiler alert, we talk spoilers all the time. That's a huge part of this. But what's interesting about Mars grabbing the popcorn, like, tell me more about the ending. So when you get to that part, you can actually move the blocks, the achievements you get, and build a staircase to go out of the blowhole of the whale. And so you just climb it, and then you launch out of the blowhole of the whale. And if you'll notice in the trailer, there's kind of like a sky, and you kind of see this flying. The whale that you're in is flying in the sky, and you see kind of a floating, destroyed world around you. And that triggers kind of the.
Well, one thing I have to ask about gameplay for both you guys is that, or for everyone on the call. They introduced in the second level combos. The idea is that because, as Amar mentioned, you have literally one bullet. You have to shoot the bullet, then you have to go get the bullet, and then go shoot someone else. So you're constantly shooting the bullet and then retrieving it just so you can get to the other defeat the other enemy. And you have to defeat all enemies on a level before you go to the next level.
Can you go into that combo system a little more so people understand that? Because that's really important.
Say it again?
Can you go into that combo system a bit more? Like, how do you build those
combo
combos?
system. That shit's hard.
It is hard. It is very hard.
That really matter because by the time you get to the 3rd floor, you start realizing that you have to like shoot the bullet, grab it, and then jump in the air and like not Matrix type of stuff going on, but it gets very complex to the fact that you only have one bullet, but there's definitely more than one enemy. And you have to defeat all enemies on the floor. So that's where, the simple game we've been describing turns a little bit more, a lot more into it. So I guess the question to the guys on, to everyone, did that combo session really go towards your success? Meaning I couldn't get the hang of it, therefore I think I wasn't successful. But is the reason why you were successful because you got the hang of it?
You don't have
I never really bothered with it, to be honest.
Say it again?
I didn't really bother with it too much, the combos itself. It was more just, I took it kind of at a slower pace, because one, the game told me after dying so many times that you could slow down. But I didn't feel the need, there wasn't any incentive to do so. It's not like something like Spelunky when you're playing it and you're taking too long at a part where like, it was like a Ghost or a Green Reaper, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Yeah. It's coming after you. There was nothing like they could have done like stomach acid or something like that. But they didn't. So I mean, I didn't feel the need to rush. And once I figured that out, it became a lot easier to get through.
That's a good point.
What about you, Legend? Did you like have to do like some crazy combos in order to get further down?
I didn't like the game.
No! All right, hot takes.
So I have to tell you guys.
I don't agree, but I love hot takes. Tell us.
I was not a fan. Now, look, here's the thing.
Tell us.
Usually, I'm pretty down with games like this. Like, it had me in the beginning. I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm, like, inside of something, and I got to shoot my way out of, whatever. I like games like these. These are cool, right? I think a platformer, okay, I got this. It's my jam. I just didn't like it. I died to, like, for someone like me, I died, like, the combo system that Tony's talking about. What? Well, why? Like, why do you have to make it so hard? Like, I don't understand. Do you want to your game?
But what about Legend? You don't have to do the combos necessarily to get more points. Like, it's...
You didn't, but it seemed like if that wasn't something that you participated in, then you didn't really get rewards. So really what was, like, kind of like the premise of it. You know what I mean? The graphics are great. I loved the music. Like, I was jamming. I was pissed, but I was grooving to the tunes. So that was good. It reminded me a little bit of like Rage in Peace. I don't know the developer off the top of my head, but I highly recommend that game. I love it. I will show it to you guys. It is amazing. It's the same thing, except when you die, you repeat yourself. So you have to kind of like remember the pattern each time. I hear you, Derivative, when you say like you could take your time and you could slow down, but it felt like in my opinion, I don't know, like the game kind of felt sort of like a race. Like, how fast can you do the combos to get to where you need to go to get the hell out of this thing? Now, the 1 to 7 hours thing, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to play a game like this for that long.
It's a big gap, by the way. 1 to 7.
Because if it doesn't have like a storyline and this is really all that I'm doing, like, but it's just not going to be personally for me. Like, it just isn't. Like, I'm glad that you triumphed and you escaped. And it's cool to find out, like, I heard you. I liked it. Like, that's cool. If I would have been able to get to that in a shorter amount of time than, like, what the game kind of allows for a gamer of my prestige, you know, then I think I would have been more like 5 stars than like 2. You know, I
knew going into this, I was very curious about your opinion on this because I know how, like, picky you are, if that's fair, about roguelike games.
I am.
Like, you're kind of a love or hate sort of situation on roguelike, so I feel you on that. I was hoping this one might be more on the higher list just because of its, like, short bursts, but I see totally what you mean by it. It is a kind of challenging game. I
think that was the ending. You know why? Because I kept dying so much and so often because I kept trying to, like, challenge myself personally. Like, cause I was like, "Ooh, I can do this." Because once you get the hang of it and you do slow down, like, it's cool. But I'm one of those people, like, I can't help myself. Like, once I get the hang of something in the game, I'm like, I'm pro. You know? So I'm just like, you know, at it. And it just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't fun. It was fun, but not as fun as I was excited for it to be. Because I love the idea of it.
Yeah.
The ending sounds dope as shit. Like, I'm super. I loved it. I was like, dude, I'm inside of a whale. I was like, what? This is cool. Like, stomach acid would have been a nice incentive. Would have made it.
Probably would have made it harder.
Yeah. I don't understand why it's inside the whale. Like, I get that they were maybe they were trying to go for something, but then, like, the look of it, that did not look like a whale.
Like,
I love that, though. It's so cool and different.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved the inside. I was like, dude, there's guts.
And the van?
That was amazing.
Like, the van dropping on you? That's like...
Okay, so...
Cool.
I don't know if anyone has ever owned a van like that in their lifetime, but I did. Like, my grandfather had a van that was just like that. It was orange. We had it forever. Like, it was in our family for like centuries, you know. So I was like, oh,
that's an iconic, for sure.
Yeah, the game had me. It had me, and I wanted to like it, but it was just too much.
That's what I love about this show, that we all have,
you know, easy level up
views on this stuff.
Your normal's too hard.
Yeah. So the only person we haven't heard from is Layla, and I want to. We've been starting to do this with the show. We did this when Xavier was on the show recently, and who wants to guess what Layla's view is going to be on this? The last person that's normally silent about a game. It always has me curious about where they stand on it. Who thinks Layla? Let's do a show of hands here. Who thinks Layla loved this game?
I don't think she was feeling it. No, I think she's like, nah.
Who thinks Layla didn't feel this game?
Definitely.
No. Unfortunately, yeah. Layla, is that accurate? Are we all right? You weren't feeling it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just letting everybody, talk. But yeah, no, it wasn't much. Whenever you were like, what are you guys like? What are you gonna play? To try to like challenge yourself. And I was like shooters, and I was like, you only get one bullet, and you gotta continue to go catch this thing, and you gotta shoot everything. I was like, oh, this is definitely challenging for me because I use like assault rifles, because I just want to go. Like all I want to do is just shoot. And have all the bullets in the world, and I was like, I only have one bullet that I have to kill these things with. So, I mean, it was fun until, I started raging, and if I saw another bus, I was probably gonna, like, destroy my own stuff.
It just drops, like in the trailer, it just drops on you constantly.
Yes. It was challenging for me, personally. I think that I guess the point is to have limited ammo, or like to go shoot and then catch and then get the combo and all that stuff. I would have liked it a lot more if I was able to. I didn't have to solely rely on getting my bullets back.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna hit y'all with this really hot take. This is one of my favorite games that we featured on all of Indie Game Club. I absolutely love this, and I want to give a little bit of a little bit more for the viewers at home about this. If you played a game, one of my favorite games is Downwell. If any of you have played that one, I think that's also a Devolver one, actually. Downwell is a phenomenal game. It is very much like this. I know others have been making that comparison as well. I think this game definitely rewards like repeated playthroughs, like building your skill as you play it. I like the options that you get each level. So a couple other things I want to add is, like everybody said, you only do get one bullet per life, but I love the way this game mechanically added some things to make it a little more friendly. So, for example, after you die, the remaining bullet shell that you had stays on the field. And so you actually have a new bullet when you're alive, but you can pick up the old shell. And so it's such a small little thing, but it's a brilliant design choice, in my opinion, because it's a subtle way of rewarding or adjusting the difficulty, so to speak, so that if somebody dies, it actually makes the game easier. So I think that was really well done. At the end of each world, you actually can shoot bullets into a frog's mouth in order to get either an unlockable hat or points. I know it sounds crazy, but that also rewards you if you died multiple times, because you'll have multiple shells to shoot in the frog's mouth. So I think there was a lot of little subtle design choices.
Here, sit over there where the orange blanket is.
You can also the choices that you have at each end of each level, from either purchasing more shells to stay on the board. Legend, I think you're
not muted.
Yeah, it's all good.
Mom accident, my bad.
It's all good, no problem. I see some other Downwell fans here. Vimy saying Downwell is tight. Vimy, I promise you, my friend, that if you like Downwell, you are going to love Gutwhale. And you can also, get... There's not so many hats. I wish kind of maybe there was a little bit more on that front. I could see them actually expanding this game even further, for sure. But you can also buy health in between levels or buy score multipliers if you want to really go for that score. So this game had me in its hooks. I can't recommend it enough, but I love how we all have slightly different views. And hopefully as people watch this, they'll be like, I'm more of like a Legend gamer, or I'm more of a, Angelic Layla gamer. They can see, based on what you guys like, what they should be going for. But this definitely has my full-on 5-star blessing for sure. I think I actually rated this full-on 5 stars on itch. I loved it that much.
So I just wanna throw something in there, and I know it's an odd like reference, but if you ever watch the music video for Lil Jon Turned Down for What,
yes,
where like they drop from one floor into the next floor and they keep going down and the party kind of continues.
Yeah,
that's the vibe that I got out of this game, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. So.
I love that. Oh man, that is awesome. Yes, I wish I should just pull that up. If Twitch didn't hit me with a DMCA or whatever, no, I would totally be down for that. Yeah, it has that wild vibe, and it's never really explained why you're in this whale and drop.
And also, like when you kill the enemies, like their dead bodies drop from one level to another, which is really cool. So you can kind of see them in the background, just like flying around. So like there's a lot of. Yeah, the corpse. Yeah, like there's a lot of small, cool concepts in this game that I really like. But yeah, I mean, I think the opinions are given, but it's definitely an interesting, cool game.
Yeah, a lot of solid attention to details. Let us know in the chat what you think about this game. Is this something you're interested in playing based on the video, based on what we've said? Do you typically like these types of games, or would this push you to, the point of frustration? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Any last things to say about Gutwhale before we move on to our next games?
No, but I do want to give a shout out. I have a coworker named Jeff, Chef 2.0 in the chat. Now I'm famous like you guys. Got some people in the chat.
Love it. Love it. Shout out.
I just want to ask, so is this game done in development? I mean,
It's done.
like the.
I'm sure.
Done. Okay. I'm definitely gonna follow the developers. I mean,
sure.
It's their story is really cool. They ran some hardship with COVID and so on, and this is a really cool project that they work on. So they should definitely be proud of this. Definitely enjoyable game, and I want to see what else they can come up with.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. This was not my jam, but I would not be opposed to playing anything else by them at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And we should say that the developer, Stuffed Wombat, actually has quite the long itch page. So definitely check out Stuffed Wombat for sure. In fact, I'll drop that link in the Twitch chat right now for people to check it out. Well, look at all this lovely crowd here. We have our very own Tony Tiger right here subscribing to the show. Thank you, my friend. Let's clap it up right here.
Yeah, amen.
I thought you were just like did it accidentally. You're just like, oh, appreciate you so much for sure. We also have some folks subscribing on. Hey, Amara subscribing too. Look at this. We got a lot of love from.
One up you, Tony. I
got
got one up you.
Let's clap it up for Amara. Appreciate that so much. We also got some YouTube subscribers here. Charles Cable's in the house, as well as Nomad. Appreciate y'all so much. Appreciate the love. You guys are fantastic. That makes us feel good about what we're doing here. Love it so much. Reanimate Joe saying Stuffed Wombat made a game about going through the guts of a whale. Yeah, that's the game we're talking about. Reanimate Joe.
There's another game?
Oh, that's what that was about.
Maybe there's another game that we're missing.
No, maybe that's his thing. Is like all the games are set inside a whale. So
Oh, okay. That could be it. Yeah, it's all about animals inside. Yeah, you are right, because he did that. He also has that game Worm, I guess.
Yeah, I'm looking at the game list. So.
Also, shout out, if you look at the top of that list there, you see the 10 mg always down. I would encourage everybody to check out the 10 mg process. It looks like a pill, like 10 milligrams, but it's also 10-minute games. Our friends over at Far Few Giants, the creators of Outcast Lovers and so many other games that we like and we've interviewed, they're part of this process as well. And it's a indie collective effort to highlight indie games that can be played within 10 minutes. Which I really like, because they're not all just, some of them are like arcadier games of this nature, which I love, but they're also games like Far Few Giants, more story-based, kind of emotional
pro gamer over here saying that you can finish all the games in 10 minutes, and you hear the rest of us saying like, yeah, it took us like a few hours. Like,
I got a speedrunner in here.
Get good, or whatever, what a sweaty tryhards, as my son calls. I don't know all the terminology here. But yeah, no, I recommend his stuff for sure. He actually played another game that I played that was very interesting. Isolation Station Annihilation is the name of the game, which I played like a weekend or so ago. So definitely recommend you check out Stuffed Wombat. Yeah, appreciate that for sure. Hey, Connie Wilson, thank you so much for subscribing on YouTube. Really appreciate the love for sure. Hey, Bralkowski, thank you. Hey, Fangirl Review, thank you for jumping in the chat. Hey, Mike, Beard Man Death Machine, thank you so much for jumping in too. We really appreciate you. I had to look at that one. That was a long name right there. Appreciate you coming in so much. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to the next game, and that is Un pas fragile, which I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. I did take some French lessons, but don't hold me to it. Let me change the description here. Hopefully that game is on.
It's unpass fragile.
Exactly. I remember when I was teaching high school and Infamous came out, and everybody was like, "Have you all played Infamous yet?" And I was like, had to give it a little lesson there. Let me see if this is on the rest of the places. No. Okay. Let me update the chat. So this game is a very interesting one. I think I have the title up there for everyone. Let me read you all the description. Un pas fragile. Follow the journey of Camille, a frog who dreams of becoming a ballet dancer. Help Camille to overcome everyday struggles like breakfast, dancing, or making friends. Un pas fragile is a short interactive experience. This narrative game is designed for all ages, has no text, and features slices of life chaining in an unexpected way. The playtime is approximately 10 minutes, and we should say, speaking of award festivals, this game won Best Student Game and Honorable Mention for Visual Arts at the Independent Game Festival in 2017. I played this with my daughter, who's 6 years old, had a really good time with her. She really loved this game, was actually wanting more from it at the end. She was like, I want more. What do you all think about this one?
This is probably like one of the purest like interactive storybook style games.
Yeah.
Like it just screamed to be put on like an iPad or something like that. I mean, admittedly, the mouse control's a little cumbersome trying to do like the swiping kind of stuff, but on an iPad, absolutely, I would play that with my daughter.
I was using a trackpad and that crap was hard, but definitely I thought a mouse would be easier or something.
The
It
mouse
hard.
was a little tricky
I
for
feel
some
like
of the
either
movements.
way, it was
Yeah, what'd you think, Layla? What'd you think about the story and the presentation here?
I thought it was really cute. At first, whenever it's like there's no instructions or like a tutorial or anything, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, what is this game asking me to do? Like, what
Yeah.
am I supposed to be clicking on? But as I was going through it, I did think it was super cute. But I guess at the beginning, I was confused as what was going on. So as the frames were going on, and I was interacting. I was like, okay, well, obviously, she's a ballet dancer. And then I was trying to find the relevance of what everybody meant. Like the kids on
Yes.
the bus, how they were mean. I was like, do I sit there every single time, or like what's going on? And then I thought, like, as she's going through her day, she's sad because she's having some days where it's just crappy, and I guess I was trying to find the feeler for it of what the intention, what was I supposed to feel as I was playing it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, obviously, are we doing spoilers?
Yes,
Spoilers.
spoiler
Okay.
alert. Yep, for sure.
At the end, I was like, oh, okay, so like you do make an impact when like with the lady with the trash, and then you finally find like that alligator gets its ball. So I guess the ending was so how many people you can fill in the seats. I guess for me, that's how I took it. I was seeing how many people you would impact to fill your seats up for whenever you do your performance, and I thought that was really like wholesome and cute.
Yeah, I feel you on that first part of what you were saying. That I was a little. I had that same feeling. I was worried I might be the only one, that I was having a little trouble understanding like the full nature of the relationships and the impact on where it was all going. It was interesting, and I love the overall package, but there was definitely those moments where I just was, and maybe that's because in general we haven't many of these games of this style. There's very few kind of adventure games that especially take this approach, or films for that matter, right? The famous films, or animated or otherwise, that take like a no dialogue, no text approach are stand out for sure. Before we get to everybody here, we got a couple comments. Connie Wilson on YouTube is saying, my grandkids would rock this game. Definitely recommend your grandkids to check it out for sure, Connie. Thanks for the comment. Bralkovsky on Twitch is saying it has an adorable art style for sure. Beautiful. I think that's almost undeniable. I almost want to ask if anybody didn't like the art style here, because
It's cute.
it was adorable.
Oh no, I would watch this cartoon. I would buy the action figures. Like, it was super adorable. Like, if this was on like Nickelodeon or like any of those other like kid shows, I'd be like, yeah, what? Like, we'd watch it.
Yeah.
It was so adorable. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. The art style was great. I agree with both you and Layla that it was very like like the movement was a bit weird with the PC. I definitely wouldn't really recommend it on a computer at all. I'm with you guys, but I think I agree with all of you. I feel kind of like the same way about it. Gorgeous art style. It was beautiful. I loved it. I loved it. It was really good. We're so good.
Yeah, for a 10-minute experience, it's like really awesome too. I love these types of tight kind of. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have to agree there. It was a color pencil. The art style reminded me of colored pencil drawings.
Yeah.
The music was classical piano, which was really beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. I guess I'm sort of stuck in the same boat that everyone else was. I actually did not get the whole point that the relationships really mattered in the interactions. I didn't get that until the end, because you started realizing some of the scenes kept replaying over and over again. So, like, for instance, you being on the bus like 3 different times. So you're like, maybe there's something important about you being on the bus, and that's why I started sitting next to the other person. But yeah, as far as the game, and it's funny because I'm the kind of person who I like to go into games blind. I don't read any synopsis. I don't look at any trailers, and I don't look at any answers. That's what Mike knows about that.
Yeah.
But definitely the description that you read out provides so much context to like what the game was about, which is essentially the ballet. And the reason why I say that is that the ballet scenes were actually equivalent to every other scene that was in the actual game, meaning that like there wasn't a huge emphasis on the ballet scenes. I mean, it was like maybe 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 things that kept repeating.
Good point.
In fact, I thought other things were, and I didn't know the game was specifically about ballet until he read out the description.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're kind of all on the same page with that, in that sort of sense.
I kind of saw the story as slightly different.
Let's hear it.
Like I saw it more of a, it was the ballet dancer coming out of his shell or her shell. I'm not sure of the gender of the protagonist. Definitely, you've got the old woman at the bus stop who, feels very antagonistic. I don't know if you clicked on the garbage bag and had a break and never scream at you.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, for sure.
The dance instructor seemed very antagonistic in the beginning. The people on the bus, you didn't know who to sit next to.
Yeah.
And then, coming home not very happy. And then as it's going on, getting a little more comfortable. Picks up the garbage, makes the old lady happy.
Yeah.
The people actually enjoy sitting next to you on the bus. The instructor seems a lot more encouraging because I don't think it's a situation where the instructor was mean. I think it was just because he was just so down on himself from all this that, like, as he's starting to come out of his shell, he's starting to really notice that these are actually positive reinforcement.
Yeah,
is really what's going on. And then at the end, it's like kind of the culmination of their hard work and their kind of positivity that they've kind of been getting over time, and to see the old lady, all of his new friends sitting there waiting for your performance. And it was incredibly heartwarming.
I love that scene. I love that scene so much, to see all the people you interacted with in the crowd. And what's interesting about this, and we have several people right here, Bralkovsky saying, I like going into movies blind too. It's interesting, and Tony, of course, saying that I'm very much the same way. One interesting aspect about that, thinking about this game in particular, is oftentimes I think it is beneficial to go into things blind. Yeah. But sometimes when you go into things blind, you also have perhaps expectations based on like a few kind of key triggers. Like you see, certain art style or certain play style, and you have certain expectations. And I think with this game, you do have to kind of quickly realize that you're kind of playing it's like it's life. It's not like high stakes, you're saving the world or anything like that. And these little interactions you have, there's not like a fail state, so to speak, just like in life, you keep moving forward with things. And so I think that's really fascinating to move forward with. And I think this could actually be nice to go through multiple playthroughs and kind of see how the different interactions work.
Good, but it sort of lacks the context that you provided. So like
yeah.
Me, like I said, anybody who played the game, you see that the ballet sequences was like one of 4 environments or 4 scenes over and over again. And how was I supposed to know that scene was more important or equally important to any of the other 3 scenes that came before it that kept repeating over and over again,
Yeah.
Yeah. This reminded me of Angelina Ballerina.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I feel you on that.
Like Angelina vibes. Like I said, I would watch this. That was cute. I definitely see your perspective on it, Tony, for sure. I think this is a great teaching tool, honestly, for children.
Yeah.
I think I would definitely utilize it in that space and encourage anyone that with parents who has video games that are able to access this, definitely, because it's a nice little, if we're thinking about it in this perspective, just think of how a child would view it,
It's a great point.
Being able to sort of think about your emotions, how you affect people that you, even if it's just a brief moment, you know what I mean?
That's a great
point. We all
point.
touch someone's life in someone's way. So that's what really sort of brought me into this game. And I
love that legend, and as the itch page said, and I think it's worth mentioning that your average itch page doesn't say the narrative is designed for all ages, right? That is worth talking about. It's oftentimes you can say a game anybody can play it, but to say that this is designed for all ages with that mindset from the beginning, I think is rather telling. And my daughter absolutely.
Was it only?
Sure.
Did we all play? Was it available for Android or I? Because
there's an iOS and Android version.
Okay.
There is, yeah, but with us, we usually do the.
Yeah.
I see. So it wasn't included in the.
The things would have been so much easier on a touchscreen.
Yeah, and what we should say for
Yeah.
everybody that all 4 games this week, as many of the games were featured in the itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality. So it's funny, like if you look that up on Twitter, people are constantly like, a lot of the tweets are like, I didn't realize I owned this game. So if you bought that bundle for racial justice and equality back in June, I think late May, early June, then you have so many of the games that we've talked about. Probably will go down in history as the best bundle of gaming out there.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it.
So
Absolutely.
all of these are on that, but definitely encourage you all, if you haven't got that bundle, to support these folks. It's only $2.60 for this game on itch. I think it might even be less on Steam and other places. Amar, we haven't heard from you. I guess let's play the guessing game with Amar too. I have a feeling Amar liked this one. That's where
I think like
I'm
gonna say yes.
I don't think you did.
Ooh.
Really?
I'm trying to remember of like last time we were playing like visual novels together, and I don't think he liked the one.
He's a fan of those things.
I think so. I remember he's Florence and others.
I'm trying to remember. Okay.
Layla,
we'll
not
see.
Layla. Not only that I liked it, I loved it.
Oh.
Yay!
I'm also a big fan. Also a big fan of frogs. So like this really
Perfect for you.
hits home for me.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. This is like so. It's I see it as like like the genre that we don't see in the U.S. but we see a lot in like things like anime, which is like the the slice of life, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a perfect slice of life of like what it's like to in a way be a child. Like yeah, I think I saw that it was about ballet, and for whatever reason I kept thinking like Michael likes dance games now after dabbing, so I was expecting that there would be a dab at the end or something like that from the
Yeah.
frog, but no, really. I think
Dab for you.
the ballet in there was just a challenge. It was an example
Yeah.
of a challenge, right? I think I think as we go through this game, I don't think like people were hard on the frog as much as it was the frog getting better, right? And like challenging themselves and getting better, and yet still being too nervous and still dealing with things. I actually even like the controls, like even with the mouse, oddly. Like and maybe we ran into some issues, but like I think I played a lot of I don't know, maybe I play some like adventure games where I just end up like clicking around the whole game to kind of figure out what is interactive and what is not, and having things like the frogs, maybe mom, maybe grandma like in the background, and when you click on it, like kind of like make a sound. So yeah, I agree. Like this is like this is like a beautiful like interactive storybook in a way.
Yeah.
And some of the interactions, which is kind of why I like I like video games, and you can't get things like this out of a movie or a TV show. The interaction themselves are like, there was a point where like you would hold the frog's hand and you would kind of like walk the frog, right?
Yes.
Or like I think was there the umbrella as well was an example of that. Like there's like these things that kind of like bring you into the experience itself, even the ending and so on. That I just liked how immersive that felt.
Yeah.
I think Layla is right that I usually don't like those kind of games, but like I think I kind of knew that this will be like a short one, and for that reason I was like, okay, it didn't like overstay its welcome. Like it went for like a like a long enough time that I just enjoyed it. I played it during like like in my lunch break.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just liked everything about this game. This is a really cute game, really cool art style too.
Yeah,
For
good.
sure.
I was like, I couldn't remember if you did or not, but I had a feeling that you don't usually. So I'm glad that you enjoyed this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I usually don't. And this was actually, out of all the games, this was going to be the one. Like when I looked at it, I was like, I don't know about this one. I don't want to be that person against the frog, but I actually liked it. It was really cute.
Yeah, and Derivative, of course, in the chat also saying definitely slice of life. I think Brokowski as well. Yeah, appreciate the comments there. Yeah, it's hard to hate on the cute factor here. Like, to your point, Amar, I like what you said there as far as you said something along the lines, I think, of like books and comparing this to other media. And I think one of the reasons I think my daughter liked this as well is like there are books of this nature, like books that don't have any text, and to have it this way where my daughter just grabbed the mouse and was like clicking things and having fun with things and thinking about them and verbalizing, the relationships, like Legend was saying, like it's it kind of takes it to the next level, because it's not only interpreting what you're seeing there with the beautiful visuals and the beautiful story there and the slice of life, but you get to play around and see the other elements.
Speaking of books, if the iOS version had like that thing where you could turn the page and go to like the next and have it still like that would be very fitting. Like that would be awesome. I think that would really just oh my god.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I would be impressed by that for sure.
Fit very much.
There was one scene I did not understand, and that was like with the alligator scaring the frog, or like, I love all the animals in there, but there was an alligator that was like, you were walking the frog, and then the frog gets scared. I didn't understand that one. Like, do they become friends later? Is that a bully?
Well, you like help him later, if I remember.
Is that the one interaction with the ball?
It was the ball.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess it just kind of becomes a friendship later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that part too, because I was like, it was so mean to you the first couple times, and then it was like you needed the ball down, and I was like, probably don't deserve this, but I'm gonna do it because I'm a nice person.
Yeah.
And then he was so happy, and then he showed up at the play or at the recital, so I was like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
That was cute.
And that's what's cool about having those repeated scenes. To Tony's point about like a fourth or so of the scenes being in the ballet, the other scenes are repeated. You being on the bus, you doing breakfast, you interacting with people. Like, rewards that I guess there's enough material there to when you're on the bus, you're like, oh, I'm gonna sit with the girl who seems kind of lonely, or sit beside the bullies, like even closer to them, or whatnot. Like, it's really
the fart jokes never get old with that game.
Literally, never.
I don't know if I missed that.
When they
jokes?
Yeah, there was a fart joke. So
I might have missed that one.
So when you go and sit like in front of the bullies, as you sit down, they put in that plastic thing that makes like a fart noise, and then they would laugh at you.
Yes.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Right next to
Those bullies.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
I kept doing it.
I just want to say, as far as expectations, I think one thing I give credit to Potions and Pixels is that it taught me to go into those games without having that need to have like objectives, right? Like I felt like there were like a couple of games that I played before where I was like, oh, this game doesn't have a score, or I don't know if I'll win or if I'll lose, and like games like this were not the ones that I was used to, like just going in and enjoying the experience as is. So I had to make sure I'm going into this game in the right mindset, giving myself the lunch break without the need to feel like I need to get an objective out of this. And that made me enjoy the game more. So just wanted to give like the context of
I appreciate you saying that, Amara. And I think, Amara, if I'm not mistaken, you've said that something. You said something along those lines before, and I think that has me thinking, like in previous episodes, like you've said, like, oh, I might have not normally picked this one up, and that has me thinking a lot about what we do on Indie Game Club. I know Layla mentions it all the time, like, being exposed to different stuff. Isn't there? It's good to like try things out of your comfort zone, even if you don't like them, right? Like, it's harder in this day and age because we literally have everything at our fingertips. We don't even want to watch like television, just like or radio necessarily. We want to be like everything on demand, and when everything's on demand, it's based on what you want at the moment, and you might not even realize. And I agree with you. Playing a lot of these other games, they might have not been my first choice necessarily in all these cases, but kind of forcing yourself into it gets you to expand your horizons, and then you end up loving something that you might have not otherwise. So I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, I will always say that. It's like being on the show with y'all, I will always pitch that. Like, I never played visual novels until I got on the show, and now I love them. I love playing them, and I love analyzing them and feeling all the feels and stuff. And I was like, but I would never have played them the way I play them now if I wasn't introduced to them here. So
I love that. I'm thinking of a couple in particular. One, I can't believe it's escaping me right now, but I remember one you
Far
really
From
liked.
Noise.
Yes, Far From
That
Noise is the exact
was
one
my
I was
favorite
thinking of.
one.
Yep,
That was
that's
my
exactly
favorite
the
one.
one I was thinking
You want to
of.
meditate without knowing that you're meditating. You want to solve some mental
Own that.
Yep.
I love that
self-love
game.
issues without knowing you're doing it. You go ahead and you play that game. You download it right now
Yeah.
because I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, for sure. Far From Noise. Definitely check that one out.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
It has
game.
a across the
Beautiful.
board unanimous.
And I think that was the
Thumbs up.
one that I said that I didn't like.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and I just said
I think
unanimous.
that's why I remember it.
You're right. Now I remember, Amar. You're right.
Yeah, and maybe I should go back in the right mindset and actually play it again, right? Maybe I was just, at late at night, wanting to just move on or something like that. So
That's another great point too. That makes such a difference. Like, I'm sure you all have done that where you've revisited like art and entertainment that you liked at a different period of your life, and then you start to realize like maybe I like this or didn't like this based on what I was going through in life at that given time. And as we get older, I think we think about these things more. And sometimes it's a positive experience. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't really.
That's actually
know?
exactly what he said whenever
Yeah.
he was describing it. You were saying that it was making you like feel things that you weren't ready to feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what made it difficult. And I was like, that's why that game is so good for everyone.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't get like what someone else got from it, it's personalized. There's no one way to play that game, and there's no one way to take that game, and there's no one way to view that game after you're done with it. It's literally for you and how you view life, time, or
For
it's
sure.
literally just for you. And I love that about it.
Yeah, totally with you. And an amazing game. For those who are also curious about that one, it takes place in like one scene. It's an amazingly effective in showing how much you can do with so little, so to speak, and have such an impact. So, absolutely, for sure.
indie game of the year. You heard it here first.
I want to submit my.
Yeah, you know what? We'll have to have a recap. Maybe we'll have like a recap show at the end of the year to like hear everybody's. I would love to hear all y'all's thoughts about like your favorite, not only the favorite
That'd be
indie
cool.
game that you played on this show, but just your favorite indie game. Period. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised, Layla, if that was your favorite game, maybe of all of the ones we've played on here. That would be interesting to. I'll be curious. We'll have to do some guessing of what people like.
Yeah.
Reanime Joe saying second that. I'm assuming Reanime Joe. Are you talking about second that for Far From Noise or Un Pas Fragile? You have to let us know. Athena Alliance saying that would be great. Love you all at the Athena Alliance. Make sure to subscribe to the Athena Alliance. Also, Athena Alliance saying that Tell Me Why just won. I believe Tell Me Why. I'm assuming it won for the Games for Impact Award. I know it was nominated for that. Tell me. Okay, cool. Tell Me Why, awesome game. 3 episodes, each about 3 hours. Significant for having the first among mainstream kind of publishers. Xbox published, Xbox Game Studios, and it's a Don't Nod game. It's the first game to feature a transgender protagonist among games of that nature. Of course, indie games, of course, have covered this before, but definitely check that out for sure. Are we any last words on Un Pas Fragile, or can we move on to our third game of the night?
Joe said that was the game of the year. So honestly, I think for someone who might be a child, like that's why I
Yeah.
was so quiet. By the way, like I wanted to actually hear a different perspective, and I know some of the the panelists here, they have have kids and so on.
Yeah.
So I actually want like a child playing this game. I feel like they would want like a teddy bear out of this game. This game
Yeah.
is just so beautiful. I'll stop.
No, that's a
talking
great
about how
point
beautiful it
too,
is.
because I think a lot of indie games there's not enough like child games. I don't feel that like respect the player, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
saying that correctly. A
No, it
lot of
makes
games
sense.
are designed with like flashy sugar ad kind of like mindset to the players, and this game is like a really refreshing experience, and I wish there were more like it, to be honest. So
Yeah, I cannot say how many like children's games that I've seen my kids play where it's like basic math and like it gives you like half a second to pick the right answer and
Yeah.
then the right answer just starts flashing.
Yeah, it's like overload.
Like what are you teaching them?
Yeah, I feel you on that. Like a weird edutainment overload with that stuff. Yeah, I totally feel you. Yeah, so that was Un Pas Fragile. it was created as a student game. Again, won at the Independent Games Festival 2017 for Best Student Game and honorable mention for visual arts. Reanime Joe saying, family-friendly games are few and far between. Positive messages are so important at developmental stages. Absolutely, without a doubt. Appreciate you saying that for sure. Okay, cool. Let's jump into our third game of the night, which until Lamar actually mentioned the dancing component, I don't think I realized when I was picking these games that there was a dancing connection here. I guess there's a music connection between all of them. I know we've talked about that.
Not only 2 dancing games, but 2 foreign language titled dancing games.
True. I didn't make all those connections when I was going through all this stuff. This game is El Tango de la Muerte. I will read you all a description here. Argentina, 1923. Martita's birthday is coming up, and Luciano still doesn't know how to do the tango. You must help him learn to dance and thus win the heart of Martita, his beloved one. With each song, you'll learn new steps that'll earn you more stars and help you master each song in this rhythm, fast, and casual game set in the tango epoch. Features. The game is fast and easy to pick up. Anyone can understand the game in just a few seconds. Move the avatar through the scenes in 4 directions, tile by tile, and also sliding, always on rhythm. Every new song will throw you in a new thing to learn, always on rhythm-based mechanics, and you can also increase the song scores. So there's an epic story of love and mellow drama in the time of tango as never seen before, with a soundtrack with 13 incredible songs of modern age tango interpreted by the Latin American band Yira. This game was, I'll start off straight up. I thought this was so cool to tell a story like this, to do dancing, to do combat. As you all see here, they took the dancing mechanics and added the a combat piece as well. I thought the music was really awesome. I love the art style. There was a lot to love here. I also played this with my daughter. I had to perhaps censor a few of those lines, if you remember, towards the end of the game. My daughter was like, "Hey, Dad, you missed that word," and I'm like, "Oh no, we're gonna keep plowing through here." I might have sugarcoated some of the melodrama as you heard there. Panel, let's discuss this one. What did you think about El Tango de la Muerte?
It was pretty fun. You see, you learn how to tango for Maria's birthday. I had 2 left feet. Like, I was doing pretty well until we got to a little later in the game, and I realized, like, man, I got 2 left feet. But definitely enjoyed the game overall. I really did. The idea, definitely to explain it, you use the directional arrows. You just use the directional arrows, and you're constantly following a path, and you have sliding you can slide across several panels. But you're ultimately using the directional arrows to go ahead and follow a path for dancing directions. And it's pretty fun. It's forgiving too, so if you screw up and get off track, you can actually get back onto track and keep playing the game, so it's definitely forgiving. It gets harder and more just a little harder as you go further along, but I really enjoyed this game.
Did you beat it?
Yeah, I beat it. No.
Okay.
Did you?
I did not. No, I'm so close. I'm like.
What chapter are you on? There are 6 chapters, we should say, each with 2 songs with 1 epilogue at the end. So 13 songs total.
So, I mean, it should take like 40 minutes. I mean, I would say the game probably would take like 40 minutes to play once, not the mastering of it. No, I enjoyed this. I love the theme. I love the story.
Yeah.
We don't get I mean, you guys can correct me. Maybe they're not in my, in my view, but we don't get a lot of like rhythm games, right? Like in general, like when you talk rhythm games, we just usually talk about them like existing as just, the goal is just to, play the music. Like I always think like something like DDR, right? And like all the games that.
Good. So
I definitely.
Amar froze.
Would you guys qualify this as a rhythm game? Oh, I think you did for
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
think I would definitely qualify. I wanted to play with I wanted my little dance pad. Like I used
I
to play
agree.
VR literally faithfully. I wanted the whole machine in my house,
Me
but I
too.
had the little pads instead. Every time I'd go to an arcade and it was there, I was on it. So I definitely I liked that we did a rhythm game for
Yeah.
sure. But I definitely would have liked to actually get to do it with my feet.
I
But
actually thought about that. How do you feel it would play with the dance pad? Because I actually really want to, once we're done with COVID and we can all come together, I would love to do this on a dance pad at a social event. Like, what do you think? How would it play? You think it would play well?
I honestly, just for like shits and giggles, used to use my dance pad to play other games, like with the directional, because
Yeah.
you could literally use it to like move around. So
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think that you could definitely do it. I don't know about whenever you get off course or whatnot. I don't know how that would play, but maybe like being able to recover. But I think it would be fun on a dance pad.
Yeah. I think it would be really cool. I'd love to try it that way. We have a little jokester here with Reanime Joe saying it must be cold in Charlotte because Amar froze. Womp womp. I love it. Well, hopefully Amar will be back
Womp
with. Hopefully Amar will be back with us soon. There we're eagerly waiting his return. I think he's coming back. I think we got him. While we're waiting for him, Derivative and Legend, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one.
I didn't like the game as much as I wanted to.
Tell
There
us
were
why.
a few things. I have when I was in like high school, I was in marching band and drumming, such like that. So I have a really good sense of rhythm. I've always been really good at rhythm games. The combination of one thing, Tango has a very bizarre time frame to it. So I had like trouble kind of keeping up with like how the movement was going to go. And that damn isometric always throws me off. So like if you can see in the images, the board in which you're moving around is not straight up, down isn't straight down, left and right same situation. It's to a slight angle. That always throws me off because every game that does isometric does it different. And like my mind goes thinking, oh, okay, up is actually a little bit to the left. Nope, it's a little to the right in this game. So like it kept throwing me off.
Yeah, I feel you on that. There's a slight. I didn't experience that myself, but I can see what you mean by that for sure. And we should also say for those who are watching this that in traditional rhythm game fashion, as Layla was mentioning with like DDR, you get rewarded when you're hitting these spaces at the right moment. So if you notice, it like leads you on the floor by highlighting things, the squares turning yellow. If you can hit them right when the full square turns yellow, you'll see the little yellow notes above you appear, so you fully nail it. So I think that's important because once you really embrace the idea that this game truly is on like rhythm and that you should play it like with the tapping to the sounds and actually like dance to it.
Yeah.
I feel like
Once
that.
you get good like the game master, that's what happens.
I was, there was one level where I had to adjust the difficulty down to easy. There was like a fight scene at the towards the end of the game, and I would be nailing it perfectly, and then right at the end, it hits you with all this stuff, and it kept on messing up on it, and just getting clobbered.
Oh, you had to lower your standards.
I had to go down to easy for that level. I think it might have been chapter 5. I'm pretty sure it's chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken. I love
Turn in your card.
I know. I'm sorry. Here's my game card. I love the music too. I thought like after a while, especially, you get like used to the movement, and like I love the sliding on the floor and the little things that were added. Plus the story too. So again, spoiler alert for everybody watching. But again, regardless, you should definitely play this. It's funny actually. Let me go back a little. Layla said we haven't played many rhythm games. It's very rare that you're going to play a rhythm game with a story. I think that's the rarest of rhythm games, and this game actually has a cool story about love and loss and kind of there is some kind of melodramatic soap operatic elements to it. But I really loved all that those parts to it. And when you beat the game, you actually see pictures of the real life couple. So I'm very curious if this, what the connection is to these real life individuals, and if this truly is like their story documented in video game form. I actually want to research more about it. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it a lot.
I also recommend, and sorry I cut off. If you guys saw my fuzzy cat, every time I talk, my cat thinks that I'm talking to the cat, and then he would rub against my computer, and he's just, like so fuzzy that he would shock the whole computer, and the whole thing would just freeze. So, but he's in the other room now. I don't know if he will jump out, but I also would want Michael, like, if you are going to be looking into the history, I would recommend, and I didn't know about any of this until I played this game, but look into the history of like Tango itself, because apparently it was set in this like people. I don't know much about music history in general, but like people said it's kind of like jazz in a way, as a reference in New Orleans, where like the area that played that kind of music were also the areas that had like, I guess, the higher crime, I guess, in a way. So like kind of like that's kind of like where the dances kind of came in from. So like that's where that's like the origin story that we are getting here is like I mean I didn't watch a single movie. Like I watched enough movies about like Italian mafias and stuff like that here in the U.S. But I didn't see anything about like the the tango and like Argentina. So like this was really cool. Just like I ended up watching some YouTube videos in my lunch break after I played, just because of how much I enjoyed this. Like to have again like, kind of like going to the point before my cat shocked me, like to be able to like have a rhythm game that has a story and a theme and an art style that goes like all this well, like that is like so rare. That is such a rare thing to find, and I'm so happy I ran into this.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, and to that, like, this game covers everything you mentioned are things that are not typical of, I mean, like the theme, the music, the play style, the art style. This, kudos to the development team here for really, and the developer, we should say, Hernan Schmidt, if hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kudos to him and the team involved, because they really tried something totally different, and I think really nailed it. We have Darth Sebulba on here. Hey, Darth Sebulba, so glad to hear from you. Saying 1923 Tango. Huh? I'll have to check it out for the golden age of Tango. Oh yeah, Darth Sebulba I know is a big dancer, so I'd love to hear your thoughts actually about this for sure. Legend, we have you're the final one we have to hear from. So let's continue our guessing game here in terms of whether we think Legend is going to be into this or not.
Loved it. There's no way.
I'm going to say Legend is down for it. Layla, Derivative, Tony?
Down for it. I think,
Yeah, probably.
I did.
Okay.
I liked it. I have to agree with Derivatives, though. Like, at first, the keys, you're like, up, down, you know what I mean? Like, it took me like a second, because I'm a little bit of a slow learner. So it took me a little bit to get used to the keys, but I love the story of it.
Yeah.
Is that your pimp? Like, how could you not? How could you not like it? It was very, very 1920s. Love the style of it.
Yep.
The rhythm game was just so different. Like, because when you think of rhythm games, you think of those anime like games, like the OSU, or there's one that keeps popping up on my Facebook feed. I don't know what it is, but it's like a mobile game, and you can like tap dance, and they're all like, I don't know, it's crazy. But that's usually how you think of rhythm games. And to have this game with such a deep story, like, that was good. I loved it. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think I would like it, because I usually don't like games like this at all.
And why has it taken this long for us to get like romance and dance together? Like the whole the sensual act of it all. It's
the whole
like
1920s gangster scene. Like, where is that? Like, gangster. Like, this is like the dance battle, yo. Y'all are dance. Look at this. This preview you see on the channel, that's a dance battle. Like, how original is that?
It's so
you're
cool.
Fighting. You're like literally dance battling. It was amazing. I loved it.
Someone can correct me on this, but I think in the US we have an issue with like men dancing, I would say. Well, like, we don't see that as like a masculine thing. Where
Yeah,
like
I could do that.
in Latin like countries, it's like you have like all the male dancers and like that is just like that's
Yeah.
just part of it. As
Normal,
well.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's men on, like, it is. It's just two men dancing for the most part of it. A lot of the fight scenes are. So I can definitely see that perspective, how
Yeah.
it's not viewed as masculine because what two men don't dance together, which is ridiculous.
That's interesting, Amaria, the cultural perspectives there. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean, you could
that was good. I would
definitely.
never have thought of that. That's, yeah, I can definitely see that though. But I just loved the, like, is that your pimp? You better.
Yeah. I mean,
kept going through. I was waiting for like her, like Poirot, to come out and be like, "All right, this is what happened." Like, it was good. I loved it.
Darth Sabulba saying Argentine tango is very passionate. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you say that, Amar, because in many ways, like, yeah, there has been a whole thing of like, I guess, questioning masculinity over dance. And also in many ways, as this game shows, is it's like a way of the sensual, even like straight up sexual kind of nature of it all, in terms of like the interaction. I think is really interesting to examine.
I loved it. I thought it was so cool, and I love that ballroom dancing stuff. I watched that shit. I love the costumes. I love how like their makeup is, and like how the women, their hair is so like slick and shiny. Like, I've never seen a bun so tight.
Yeah, more stuff like this for sure. I love the comment right here, by the way. I should clarify, Nomad, Xavier, who's been on recently, said, Michael and I danced together. This is true at MagFest, I should say. Maybe, Amar, maybe you were there for some of those. Like, they have these, like, salsa lessons and other things like that.
Yes.
But the proportion, the male to female ratio there is, quite a bit different. So, Nomad, whose hands are awfully soft, I must say, Nomad, taught me. I believe I danced to the female position because, like, in that style of dancing, there's a kind of
that's cool
historically designated male-female position. So
that's really cool.
Legend saying he must moisturize. Yes, his hands were very soft. So shout out to Nomad and his soft dancing hands. Two men can dance together to this. Bromance blooming. Love it.
I thought that y'all were talking about y'all were dancing the last time. Like, y'all were standing up dancing. I forget why. There's a clip of
for
it.
the dab or when I was doing the dancing?
Yes, exactly.
Like the
There's
whole,
a clip
like,
of it.
the shoulder, hips. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Xavier and I just dance together on a regular. I would like to see more kind of like romance games of this style. Strangely enough, to our point earlier about things that I never would have thought I would be into at all. I'm not typically one to like be like loving like soap operatic romance stuff, but I was into this one, and I was like, man, come on, Luciano, you got to get Martita back. Like,
yeah, I like it when
man.
it's like this style. Like, I love the old BBC, PBS like type of like today's are kind of like, because you already kind of know the typical, like, more of, I think foreign series or foreign shows like these have more suspense to it, more of a dramatic effect. But this definitely made me feel very like PBS, very like, oh, what, like, I don't want to say Downton Abbey vibes, but just like Poirot vibes, like very like, I just, and I wish there were more style. Like, the 1920s was such an important decade in our life. People don't realize like how many things happened and how many things like progressed and moved on, especially when it came to like prohibition and stuff like that, and to have that in this, to have that type of style, I thought it was cool. Like, people don't realize how much like, I mean, gangsters and affected our American history, our timeline.
Yeah.
Especially with like bootleg. I just love it.
That's a great point.
I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
I think that also speaks. This to me like epitomizes a lot of this stuff about Indie Game Club, because the whole idea is oftentimes you'll hear people like almost say that there's like no original ideas left, or especially in like AAA game space, it's kind of like the same derivative things over and over again. Oftentimes, with like minor incremental progress, I guess, if you will. But the fact of the matter is there are so many spaces to explore. So many elements to explore, not only mechanically but thematically, and I think this game really does something different. So if you're interested in that, let me drop El Tango De La Muerte in the Twitch chat. If you're on Twitch, you can see it there. That is the page, which it is available on Twitch, on itch. I always get those two mixed up. It's on the itch page. I'll drop it in the Twitch chat. The game's on itch. And it is $5 on itch unless you have the itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality. In that case, you already own it. So check out your bundle for sure. Any last words about El Tango de la Muerte from Hernan Schmidt before we move on to our final game of the night? Or
I want to say like I think it's probably my favorite. Okay, two favorite things in the game. One is when you go through a line and then you at the very end they would do like a slide or a dance.
Yes,
and they would just say something small like or something like that that I really love. The second part, and it's a little bit of a spoiler, but that's when I was like, okay, this game is really pushing like the rhythm genre into like a storytelling. Is when he was dancing, and he said like he would dance just to remember his mom or something like that.
I love that part.
And he was dancing around, and he would like collect the jigsaw puzzle pieces, and you would see them fly up to like kind of fill it up. Like they pushed the rhythm genre with this game. Like so far, they were like, okay, we have the the board, we have the dance that you saw on the tutorial level. What else can we get out of this? Whether it's like a couple of dancers, or having like the puzzle that I talked about, to even the fight, which honestly, the fight itself didn't make sense to me, like why two people would fight like this. But like to be like, okay, let's have like the combat element, and have it be, I guess that makes sense, kind of like a boxing thing, and then adding like just like kept adding more and more stuff. That's why like at the beginning of this, I was like, Tony, did you finish it? Because I was like, I have like 2 more chapters to finish, and I really want to take my time to be like, I just want to like enjoy this. And for a 45 minute-ish game, like this is so enjoyable. I love this. Sorry.
Yeah, great point. And we should add also that, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 difficulty settings for this, and I can tell you that between the difficulty settings, the actual movement and the board doesn't change, the speed or anything else. From my understanding of when I was playing around with it, it all seems to stay the same. It's just how well the game is, or how much the game is forgiving for mistakes. So in the easy mode, it's much more forgiving. So I would encourage those who want to just play through the music, just kind of like casually go through it for the story, for the music, for the feeling. There's never shame in trying on a different difficulty, but especially in this game, like definitely hit up that easy mode for sure. Sweet.
I'm playing on easy, by the way. So
yeah, I feel you. It's enjoyable. It's like it allows you to kind of just focus on it. El Tango de la Muerte. That was our 3rd game of the night. Definitely check that one out for sure. All right, folks, we are on our final game right here of the night. This is Circa Infinity from Kenny Sun. We should, in light of all the stuff surrounding Cyberpunk, and of course the unfortunate instance with the reviewer that experienced the seizure, we should say that I don't know. Did this game have an epileptic warning?
So it did. It's a
right?
trippy game. Definitely interesting visuals. I really enjoyed this game. And it is very addicting. You start realizing patterns of when to jump and when not to jump. But it will cause vertigo. So I didn't really experience a seizure, but after about 4 or 5 rounds or getting past it, I did somewhat have a migraine. So not a seizure though.
The first time I played, I had a bit of that feeling too, and then I played it another time. I got really deep into it. Again, played with my daughter and got through quite a few of the worlds. I love this one. It's so Circa Infinity, I'll read real quick, is a brain-melting circular platformer by Kenny Sun with a pulse-pounding soundtrack by Jack and Jim Fay. This game, we should say, has actually been out for a while. I remember seeing it on itch for some time and didn't get a chance to try it, but it has been out for just over 5 years now. So definitely glad to finally jump into this. Who wants to describe what we're seeing here? Like, what does the basic gameplay look like? What are your goals in this game?
It's like Super Hexagon was turned into a platformer, but in reverse.
That's a cool description. For those who don't know, Super Hexagon, though, from Terry Kavanaugh, derision of how would you describe it if you couldn't use that as a touchstone? I guess
it is. What's a good way to think of it? There's that game show called Hole in the Wall,
I don't think I've
where
ever
like
seen
you just
that
have to
one.
find that one spot that you go through. And of course, like that's just kind of what the play style is. I mean, you're trying to jump into or like meld into like the
Yeah.
one spot that there's a hole.
I think that's
Yeah,
a
there's
good
like
one.
an indicator. There's an arrow of where you want to go into, kind of like melt into the next level.
Mhm.
So like each it's sectioned off. So whenever you're going in, you want to go in the little triangle with the indication of where you start, and then as you're in there, your goal is to go into the next circle with the same triangle with
Yeah.
the same point. So you're pretty much just going into the triangle, then jumping into the circle. And you want to do this over and over again, and it gets more complicated because like monsters or enemies show up, and you have to like dodge them while you're trying to do this same sequence over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably the best way to. That's the
Yeah,
best
and
way
hence
I
the
can-
kind of the Circa Infinity title, like the circular design, and you're just kind of going in deeper and deeper into it. Yeah, that's a great way to describe
It's one of
it.
those things, like, she described it very well. I could not describe it any better than her for sure. But it's one of those things you have to sort of see it in order to
Yeah.
really understand exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, we have.
E-
Oh God. Okay, I won't read that comment right now. Thanks for anime, Joe. Hole in the
I'm
wall.
glad that was a nice one, Joe.
It's not mine yet.
We love
It's
it.
kind of related to the last game that we talked about, I guess.
Right, we've been very tame today.
We have.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Let's turn it up a notch. What are
Read the comment now.
Well, I was gonna type something in chat, and I was like,
You can totally do it.
I was like,
We're
I
no
don't think
longer.
hole in the wall is the correct term for it.
We're no
but that's
longer a
okay.
family.
Yeah, fun.
Your glory is part of. Oh, okay,
So-
everyone, stop talking. Whatever.
What's going on? All right, this is the
Everyone,
time
this
part of
is
the show where
going
things
down.
start going off
I
the.
just want to say, like,
Yeah.
this game is actually a little bit more confusing probably to watch in a video than it is to play. Because, like, when I
That's a
watched
good
the
point.
trailer for it, I was like, I have no idea what to expect with this game. Like, I think even watching the trailer now and I'm looking at it,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's
Yeah.
way too much.
Yeah. Well,
and-
as soon as Mike sent me the list, I was like, "Yo, like,
I
Circa,
remember.
you may want to do a warning on it." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is-
Looking at the trailer, I was like, "What?" I mean, I wear the blue blocking glasses, so
I agree. Definitely. Looking at it would probably be still confusing, but
Yeah.
you can pick it up once you play it. You can. It is once you get about probably about 10-15 minutes in, you'll start figuring out the norms and how to dodge the
Yeah.
enemies and how to get
Yeah.
from one level to the next. And it is. I don't like. I played it to a certain point. I think I up to like to the 4th world or whatever.
Nice. That's impressive.
Yeah. So I'm not. I don't believe it switches up. So it's the same mechanic. The idea you go from circle to circle and you're constantly dodging enemies, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and there
as
are
far as
s-
I know.
There are like subtle additional mechanics that are added over time.
Okay.
And so I guess we can speak to that part a little bit. And to Tony, to your like point there, as far as well, I guess I don't know who actually said this, but just to let everybody know, in terms of not only is it like a little challenging to kind of understand the patterns and like how other creatures are moving. Anything that's in red is essentially an enemy. That's like the indicator that can harm you. But also, as you notice, the only buttons really in this game is left and right and jump. Or jump also, depending on the surface and color you are, also kind of becomes like a slide if you're on the outer circle versus the inner part of the circle. But the point we should say as far as confusion of controls is also, since it's left and right are kind of relative or are not relative to where you are. So
Clockwise,
yes,
clockwise.
They can
that's
be
a good way to
inverted.
putting it. Yeah, so it can be very confusing when you jump in, meld into another circle, and then you
Then you're upside down. Yeah.
Exactly, and then you're forgetting what the controls are. That happened all the time.
Yeah, I found out that I'm a clockwise person. Counterclockwise just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like there've been so many times where I just died because I pressed left and ended up going
Yeah.
right. And again, like just gotta like this game, the controls are super simple. They're just left, right, and jump as
Yeah.
far as the game, and I think they stay that way throughout the whole game, which is really cool.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. And Legend, I see you're asking if I beat this one. I actually did not complete this one. I'm hoping to complete it. I have not, only because I didn't have enough time to keep going. You know what's funny about it though? Here's what's funny. My daughter, what's that?
52 seconds wasn't enough.
I know, wasn't enough. Well, you guys are gonna love this. I should bring my daughter in here because she literally, while we were playing this game, she said, "Daddy, hold on a second. It might be in here." She was like, "Oh, it is. Oh my goodness, here." She grabbed her notebook. She grabbed her notebook and she started keeping track of how many times I died in each level.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Yeah, and so she started writing them down, and she was like super excited. She wouldn't let me restart the levels, and at the end of the level, she wanted to count all the skulls. And I feel like I'm quite humble overall, despite what you all may think. I will reveal that on one of the levels, I think in World 2, I think I died 60 times, according to her calculations.
Oh, that's not bad.
That was one level. So
that's not bad. I probably would have. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even like. I think I turned my death counter. I have a death counter on my channel. On my channel, so it literally, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I had to turn it off after a while. It was so ridiculous. I was like, dude, what more? Are you serious? Like, for me, this game was just like a one shot. Like, I played it for I just don't like puzzle games. I mean, okay, so here's the thing.
Wait.
Yes, I know. Like, I'm really wondering what you're about to reveal here. Here's the thing.
I just, I get it. Games like this, if you are deep into puzzle games like this will be your jam. I liked it. It was enjoyable, but it's not something that I was like. It was a boo for me. It was a boo for me. I didn't like this game at all. Like,
this is one. Yeah, sorry.
It's not. Yeah, no, it's not my thing. Like, I don't mind dying. It's kind of what I do. It's just how I play games. But it was just too. Again, like I said earlier, this is too much. And to be honest, if you don't have not that blue blocking glasses do a lot for you, to be honest, like they just kind of block a little bit. They're not like 100% effective. It just headaches, nausea. Like, I just thought this game was dangerous to play. Like, it was just dangerous, and it was annoying and it was pissing me off. And no.
I knew this one was going to be the most polarizing.
I didn't throw up, but I definitely was nauseous. For sure.
Yeah, it's just something that and look, it's a great game. Like, if you like this genre, like, I don't want to, me, like, I'll poop on a game, but if you guys like it, like, it's cool. I'm not gonna poop on you for it. But it's just, I just didn't. I don't know. Like, it was fun. I liked it. It's something that maybe I would probably like. That's lying. I would never play this again. But like, if I liked puzzle games, that I know someone who would probably play this over and over just to try to up themselves, beat their levels too far. I see the joy in it, but it wasn't joyful for me.
I feel you on that.
Yeah, I definitely got into the situation where it's like I got the gist of the game. I didn't really feel the urge to complete it. Like, it didn't have enough going for it for me to want to keep going.
Yeah. And usually, if I don't like a game, I'll take a break. I'll play it again, just to, because I like to have a different. Because, like you said earlier, sometimes it's just your mindset, your day, your perspective. Like, sometimes it's a good way to just refresh your vibes, and I find myself falling back to games that I hated or didn't enjoy. I don't want to say hate, that's a strong word, that I didn't enjoy, and I like them again. But this game, I wouldn't play it again. I don't think I'd like it again. Like,
I feel you. I figured this one was going to be the most polarizing. Real quick before, because I want to definitely hear more on this. Bralkovsky, shout out, says they've been up since 3 a.m., so saying good night to everybody and thanking us for everything. So shout out to you as well. Appreciate that for sure. Layla, I was going to ask you next, and I see you have something in the chat already that I can ask you about. You're saying nothing's worse than Super Hexagon. I'm curious what your thoughts were about this one.
Yeah, I can see the rage level and all that stuff, and about being nauseous, but I think the only thing that ever made me nauseous was Super Hexagon, because there's flashing lights, the colors were just so vibrant and bright, and you had to just be so on track. So I can see why we can compare it to that game, because it is pretty similar. I just don't think it was nearly as bad as that. So and not that it was bad, it was fun, and I liked the fact that you could restart fairly quickly.
Oh,
it wasn't like a whole, But
I just YouTube Super Hexagon, and that thing looks like it's used to like help like mental health patients or something. Like that thing is rough.
I don't think you.
It
Yeah,
was
you weren't on that
Yeah,
episode. I
that game
guess.
gives you like
it's
makes
supposed
your
to
eyes really tired.
I would think that what they were saying about that game was it's supposed to relax you, and I was
Oh.
like, like as you're going, so you're supposed to feel more relaxed as you're going through it, and you're repeating the same things, or like you're getting the gist of it. It's supposed to help you concentrate. It just made me rage the whole time.
Yeah.
I was just
Oh.
angry the entire time.
I found it relaxing after a while. Actually, I'm in that
That's
boat.
what you were saying, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was the only one who didn't get it. I was like, no.
It's like the bullet hell thing, where like,
Yeah.
people are saying bullet hell games are actually relaxing because you just like focus and.
Yeah, you enter like a trance. It almost feels like a dance where you're just like moving around things and you can kind of zone out into it. I feel
I'm
you. on
looking at it
that.
right now. My eyes hurt. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I feel you. Yeah, this one I think I got. What did I get to? I think I got to the fourth world. I will say I do like. I know what you mean, derivative, in terms of like that once you like play it for a little while, you feel like you kind of understand where it's going. I will say that each world adds like different components to it, and that like if you notice in the trailer as well, you get to a point where I do kind of want to understand the story a bit better, but it's kind of like a presumably a male and female character like meeting and joining of sorts. Like in one world you play a male, one female, and then in the third world they kind of come together and you're kind of controlling them both at the same time. So I feel like it does layer. It did actually get to that point where I was just like, oh man, this is truly gonna require a big investment for me to get here. Because I will say this is a game that I feel like I am kind of weak in because it tests your patience. Like I'm not really good in those situations where if you just stood there and set and like got the pattern, you can nail it. But I'm just like, I would just rather die 500 times and just try it over and over and over again.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Right.
And that's what really got me here. But I feel like it's really creative.
I did like the enemies instead of
Yes.
like. I like that better. I like that concept better about this one in comparison. I know I keep comparing it to Super Hexagon, but I do like that as opposed to the factors of both.
I feel you on
like-
that. Yeah.
And I feel like I thought I would be the grumpy one, and yet I'm the one loving all the games today, so I'm not sure what's going on. This game has so many points about like I would just feel like just like such good like game design that is just like so fun. Like every time you die, you actually don't like start all over, right?
Yes.
Like you go one up, and more than likely you will go one up, and then
Can you explain that go one up a little bit for the audience?
Yeah. So I mean, to kind of like go back to like explaining this game, I see this game as just a platformer, and the goal is to just almost like instead of going up, you are kind of like going deeper into each layer here, as you see from the game. So like every time you like run into an enemy, for example, instead of having to restart the whole game, you would go back into the last level technically that you passed, which is the circle.
Yeah.
And if you mess that one up again, then you go one up, right? So like the goal is to kind of like make less mistakes. But every once in a while, there's like just a circle that has nothing in it, and you're like, okay, now you almost have a break. And I really love that pacing that gave me that chance. Now playing this game, I also felt like I knew at some point this game will just be too much for me.
Yeah.
I didn't reach that point, but with every time, like the game starts and it's like, okay, it's one enemy, and then the next level it's like, okay, there's flying enemies. So now when I jump, I die, and then there's another level. Another level is like, okay, if you move, the enemies move.
Yes.
And sometimes if you jump, then the enemies jump, and then they
clever.
start layering those difficulties together. So you can technically see it like what you need to do, but you have to battle like the execution itself.
Yes.
So like I would get in and I'm like, okay, I meant to press right and I went left, and damn it, now I'm dead and I have to go back up again. And that is the competition. It's almost like a mind twist to censor myself. It's a mind twist where like at every level I'm just struggling with that. I won't question that, yeah, it is a little bit dizzying, but I appreciate the fact that it's not like Super Hexagon where like everything was just moving. I can just pause and just like look at this and kind of like know what I want to do when I get into that world and seeing the enemies, knowing what I need to do to like pass that level. But
That's a
it's
great
the
point.
challenge of actually getting there.
I love what you said there because you can actually see the pattern. So as you watch this, you can see as you're going into the circles, you can like kind of observe a pattern of sorts before you go into it. So unlike Super Hexagon, where you have to like really think at the moment and you have no idea exactly where it's going to go and it's really, reflex based. In this game, if you sat there and studied it enough, you really could truly take your time and figure out exactly what to do. And I will say, for trying like a different style of game, like something I think that's really original. I think this is a really original game. The developers like really explored that topic like fully, and I think,
Yep.
and I think like honestly, hats off to them, because oftentimes you'll see a game that will take a simple concept and run with it and may not explore all the mechanics that are available because you jumped and took the game in this direction. And I think, again, super kudos to them. You may or may not like this, to Legend's point. I think that you'll kind of know whether you'll like it or not probably by listening to us and watching this. But if that sounds like something you may be potentially interested in, I think you could find a rewarding experience.
I would say a piece of advice for anybody playing it with it, go the direction of the enemies. So
Yes,
if you jump into a
good
circle,
point.
go with the direction or go with the flow of the enemies, and it becomes a lot easier compared to if you physically try to think that you're going to jump between them. And so just go with the flow of the enemies and wait till you get to that perfect spot and then just jump into the next level.
Good point. I think as a general rule of thumb, there are a couple rule exceptions to that, but as a general rule of thumb, I think you're totally right there, for sure. A couple comments before we have a good question for the group from Reanime Joe, which I'll actually save at the end of the show. Thanks for that, Reanime. That's a good one. A couple of thoughts. Darth Sabal was saying Super Hexagon is good for occupational therapy. Helps with hand-eye coordination. I tried to convince my occupational therapist back then to try it. Yeah, I totally feel. I know you were really into the game. I can totally see that for sure. A couple updates. King of the Nerds saying Among Us just got best mobile. Yeah, we can also update you that best indie. I don't know if this was too much of a surprise, but Hades won best indie as well, which is really cool. Hades, of course, is also nominated for Game of the Year, which is exciting to have some.
It's Game of the Year as well. It's gonna win.
You think so? I know it's been
think so.
getting a huge amount of buzz. It is up against some pretty heavy hitters, so I'm curious about that. That's actually the only one of those indies on that list that I haven't played yet. I've heard nothing but good things and looking forward to trying it there. Darth Bulba saying there are fixed patterns in Super Hexagon. You saw them at random, but it's predictable after a while. That's good. Nomad saying Hades is so good. I know it's getting a lot of love. I'm definitely looking forward to trying that out. If we don't, any other last thoughts about Circa Infinity, or I might go to Reanime Joe's last question.
Music.
Yes, thank you.
Oh my gosh, I was listening to the soundtrack while working. Like, this is so good.
Really
like,
cool
I really
music.
love the music of this. If you don't, I mean, honestly, just they have a Bandcamp site, so just go and check out the music from there. Because I remember when I reached the second world. Sorry. I was just like, wow, this is just, I don't know what genre it is. It's like 80s like. But like it kind of has like a really cool like instrumental vibe to it. I really liked it. So
Yeah.
Great music for sure. Absolutely. This whole week's worth of games, I think they had that in common. Like, we had some really strong music and sound design. Legend saying yes, great soundtrack. King of the Nerds saying Doom Eternal better win Game of the Year. And yeah, that I have that and haven't really put some time into that too.
I voted for that.
I need to jump in some more to that side of things. Awesome. Well, that, folks, was Circa Infinity from Kenny Sun with a pulse-pounding soundtrack by Jack and Jim Fay. Those were our 4 games of the night. As a reminder, we had Gutwhale, Un Pas Fragile, El Tango de la Muerte, and Circa Infinity. I think I would say a really solid lineup. I really enjoyed all of these. I think they were varied enough. We had a good little bit of everything. It was a lot of fun. When I hit you guys with this last question in terms of what you all have been playing lately, I also want to hit you with this question from Reanime Joe. I think it's a really good one. He says, question for the group. What game is your go-to when introducing a newbie to indie games? That's a really good question. Yeah, what is it? What do you guys think for you? Like, what's your? Because that's an interesting question. It's not necessarily saying what is your favorite indie game. It's not necessarily. It's what is the one that if you want to introduce people to, I guess, the world of indie games, if you will, what's kind of the go-to? Any thoughts? That's a hard one.
When people are usually asking for that, they're not looking to pay for it generally. So I usually go with a standby of Yume Nikki, which is a kind of like LSD Dream Emulator. You're in the mind of this little girl who you're going through a bunch of dreams. There's no dialogue at all. It's somewhat horror, somewhat surreal. There is a purpose to the game, but you don't need to get it. It's just completely atmospheric, and that's usually the one I suggest to people.
If you can drop a link maybe in the Discord, maybe we can drop that in the chat.
Yeah, I can do that.
It is actually available on Steam now. It's completely free.
Nice.
I think my favorite one is probably because I didn't start playing indies knowing exactly that I was playing indies until I got here with y'all. But probably my favorite one is Celeste. That I had the most fun with was probably Celeste. If not that one, because now we have so many different ones.
Yeah.
I'm always going to recommend Far From Noise, but
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a good one to start with if you want to play indies. Just because it's like, I don't know. That wasn't the one that got me into visual novels either. So it's like,
what was the one that got you? Was it that A
New Life?
A New Life. Was that the one?
New Life was the first one that I played, I think. I'm pretty sure that was the first one that because I played it over.
Or
and
I
over
guess
again
Wheels of
with
Aurelia
different
also has like a visual novel aspect to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had fun with that one because I was crashing into everything. It was great.
Yeah.
But probably like the one that has the most in my mind, that's a bigger indie that a lot of people recommend, a lot of people play, so they can get multiple reviews from multiple people, would probably be Celeste, for me personally, as someone who doesn't play indies until now.
That's I think a solid choice from like a mechanical and like story atmospheric standpoint. Phenomenal game from developer. I know Matt Thorson recently transitioned, so the game company was Matt Makes Games. So I apologize for not saying the exact.
I want to say it's Madeline.
Yes.
Madeline Thorson, I think,
too.
is So shout out to the developer there. I should say also because of course is the developer behind Towerfall, which is a favorite among Potions and Pixels fans. And I actually remember playing Amar actually on a projector at Petra's in one of the events with Towerfall, and you totally schooling me.
It's an amazing game.
Pretty hard. It's a phenomenal game there. So Celeste, I think, is an awesome option there as well. Let's see what else. I'm always bad with these like list things because I always feel like I'm gonna always remember something else after the show, and I'll be like, what about that one? Legend, I think we're getting a little reverb from you on their little sound.
Oh, probably my daughter's in the room with me. That's probably why.
It's all good. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hannah, can you turn your video down just a little bit?
What about for everybody else? What are y'all's?
I can go next. One of the so it's sort of hard to go with a specific indie game. I think if you were to go to indie game, everyone's universal language is a platformer. Devolver Digital is a good publisher that I would look at for indie games. One of their first games that I played was Crossing Souls, which is sort of like an 80s inspired platformer, Stranger Things type of thing going on. Another one, my very first indie game that I played was probably a game called Doom and Destiny, which looked like it was made off of like RPG Maker. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Don't knock RPG Maker.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Really enjoyed that game, and I think I bought it on like two to three different platforms. But I would, for a specific game, like I said, sort of hard to choose, but I would go with developers. Devolver Digital is they're a pretty good indie game studio. but they're not like in the backyard in a cabin or some shit like that with a typewriter. So they're indie developer,
Yeah.
but they're a little bit more well known and they have a little bit more polish in their games.
And they have a really good track record. I think it's
yeah, they have a good track record.
They really do. It's one of those things, to be honest. If I see Devolver Digital on something, like I'll play it for sure. Like it's not really a question. Like they've entered that kind of like indie rockstar label curation level to me, where they're like a great curator of content. Like they recognize like really solid experiences. May not be for everyone. I'm not saying that necessarily. Typically, they tend to be a little bit more violent, bombastic like experiences. I personally am into a lot of that stuff, so I'm cool with it. But those are I think those are some awesome choices there, Tony. We got a few other ones in the chat. Darth Sabul was saying Gnarled Hag or Micromages. I think both really solid choices that have been featured here on Indie Game Club. Reanime Joe saying I always recommend Braid. Yeah, I think Braid is an excellent choice. I actually, it's funny you mentioned that as far as recommending that. I remember buying like 6 copies of Braid to pass out to like friends and family. I think that is a excellent choice. And I think Braid will often be remembered historically, that 2008 kind of era where Braid, World of Goo, Castle Crashers, I'm sure there's several others kind
Splunky.
of like, yeah, Splunky a little bit after, but yeah, same kind of general, like, yeah, Splunky, the original, the Game Maker version. Yeah. You kind of have this like, this huge emergence of indie games coming out and really like hitting mainstream and opening the floodgates, if you will, for others. So I think Braid is an awesome example there. Thanks Layla for dropping all those links for all of our amazing guests here for their Twitch channels. Make sure to follow all of our amazing folks here.
So I want to answer.
Yeah, please.
The easy answer, which I don't feel good about, so I'm gonna have a second one.
Yeah.
The easy answer is Minecraft. I feel like Minecraft is just it's like the Lego
Great choice.
virtually, and there's like so many modes from it and so on. But what I would say the answer that I would enjoy from anyone, probably anyone in here, probably anyone watching the show, would be the game that I played with Reanime Joe and how I know him, Killer Queen, the arcade game. Because for me, that is like
excellent game.
It's like you're in a bar, you're hanging out with people. It is a social game, and regardless of where you are, like you would just love it. So I feel like he almost baited me by asking that question, and he wanted me to say Killer Queen, but I would say it's Killer Queen.
Oh, Killer Queen.
And Killer Queen Black is really solid.
I love that.
Console.
I played it all the time at a bar, and then I actually have it on Switch. I actually really love that game. It's very innovative. Good esports game. There you go.
Yeah.
It would be a good esports game.
For sure. I think Killer Queen is innovative in so many ways, not only for enlivening the arcade scene with a modern yet retro and simple take on competitive gaming and having multiple different objectives. Phenomenal game design for sure. I think that's a great choice. What else? We have a couple. Legend, I see your choices right here. You're saying The World Next Door by Rose City Games /Viz Media. You want to go into that a little bit more?
I love that game.
Yeah.
I love it because it's like a puzzle platformer visual novel about this girl who's human. There's this alternate universe. And basically, like, it's one of those things where, like, it's like different dimension. They know about each other, the humans in this dimension. And long story short, she has friends that are over there. The portal opens like once a year, once a thing. She goes over to visit her friends, and then that's like the only time that humans are allowed in that area. But the portal closes. Something like this drama happens. I don't want to give too much of it. And then it's your job to sort of like go through the steps to have her like open this like other secret portal, in order for her to get back home. And there's like a whole bunch of like drama and intrigue, and I love it. Like you can play it with controller. I don't recommend it with mouse and keyboard, but it's a beautiful story. It's like an interactive, immersive visual novel. Viz Media has a big thing. They even have like a little comic, like. And like my favorite game, like I haven't played it yet, but I know it's going to be my favorite game. But it's the Garden Story. It's also anything by Rose City Games. Honestly, I love all their games. They're just beautiful. Cat Lady is so much fun. But I really want to do the garden story because it's like this wholesome. You play Concord, a grape, and like get it, Concord, he's a grape.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh.
and then you interact with people, and it's like this pixelated sort of. I want to give it sort of like the Stardew Valley vibe, but with dungeons, and you're helping your friends, and you're interacting with people. It's like this good, like Rose City Games. They put out a lot of. You'll see them featured a lot on like the wholesome games.
Yeah.
Because they have such a beautiful storyline, great interaction with just the game and the playthroughs themselves. And like, I can't say enough about that. Like, The World Next Door, Layla, I'm telling you, you would like it, especially because it's got like that little anime style to it. It's beautiful. The art style is beautiful.
Horse is Beth.
Okay, I'm a very I like to consider myself pretty well rounded. Like, I'll play anything. I just have my
Yes.
preferences.
Yes.
But I do I get every Animal Crossing game. Like, I get every what is it, Story of Seasons, and I was playing Harvest Moon, Rune Factory. Like, I don't know, I just love the farming games and the cooking games and all that. It's just one of my weaknesses,
Yeah.
I guess. So I definitely want to play that. It sounds really interesting to me because I was playing the Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, and I mentioned that I was going to play that, and I love that game too. And it's the same like cute chibi looking character, but she also like goes and kills monsters and demons and whatnot. And I like those types of games, so I'm excited. That's something
I've not played World Next. I need to get in on this. This is really awesome. This is really cool.
Story.
Yeah, and I'm totally in agreement with Reanimate Joe's last comment. He's saying, I'm loving the passion that you all have for these games. Exactly, yeah. I mean, you can feel it, right? Like, it's so cool. I think that's what's so neat about this space. I was thinking about this. Let me throw this out to you guys, and before I'll say my my games here as well, is, one of the reasons I think I love this whole world of indie games is there's so much to discover and so many experiences, like intimate kind of bizarre experiences that you can't really find elsewhere. I distinctly remember like the early 2000s, like 2000 to 2008 probably, where I felt like I was so invested in like gaming that there was no surprises for me. Like, I would read in magazines and I would have the full preview understood. There was not a surprise game. You came out, I knew all about it. And you had that whole shift away from like PC to like console focus. You saw a little big developers, the Peter Molyneux's, others, because of piracy and so many other things, shift. And it was such a predictable kind of like sterile environment during that time. And now we have an age where you can literally spend your entire life on itch.io, right? Like, entire time. And I find that that's the only place I'm going to right now. I'm not even like, honestly, like too keen on playing a lot of these bigger AAA titles. Like, I haven't played an Assassin's Creed in a while, or these other games. Not to knock them, totally cool. Get if you're into it. I still think there's valid, there's some strong gameplay to be said in those games for sure. But if you want something different and experimental, there's a lot here. So I definitely hope Reanimate Joe and others, you see that excitement we have, because we want to proselytize all this amazing content out there and make sure it doesn't just sit on the internet shelves forever, so to speak, and that people embrace and understand it. I will say for mine, I have so much trouble answering these questions, so much trouble, because I feel like my tastes are rather eclectic and that there's not really one thing to kind of capture it all. I probably will say, this won't be a surprise to many, I'd probably say Spelunky is a really good one that appeals to a lot of people. It's not for everybody, I'm going to say that straight up, but I feel like if you are remotely interested in it, you should actually play it for a while to get the appeal. I famously kind of like played it, didn't really feel it, uninstalled it, and then the next day I installed it. Now it's one of my favorite games of all time. And that was back in the Game Maker version. I also got to give a shout out to games like, I find I recommend Her Story a lot. I find that I recommend Gone Home a lot. I find that I recommend Inside. There's probably many more that I'm not currently thinking of at the moment, but I feel like those are the Sexy Brutale. There's so many different experiences that you can find out here. It's hard for me to stop and pick, because then you're just constantly thinking of what the stuff that you missed. But super exciting stuff. Legend saying people sleep on indies, same vibes. Reanimate Joe saying AAA is always fun, but when you want to feel things or experience art, indie games will show you the way. I think that's good, and not to knock, I don't think we knock AAA games fully here. There's plenty of amazing AAA experiences, and sometimes you want that crazy Michael Bay-ish feeling with everything exploding and all that. Totally cool. But the nature of those experiences don't necessarily, and the economy of sorts behind the development of those games don't necessarily promote innovation. They're more about safe, marketable approaches. So I think we're all kind of in the same page about the experimental different design there. Well, I know we're over 9 real quick, so we'll probably have to wrap it up here. I would like our guest, if you don't mind, just maybe briefly just say again who you are, where people can find you, and then maybe mention a game or two that you're playing right now. Amar, can we start off with you?
Yeah. Hey, so again, I'm Amar. Go by Amarika. I have my Twitch. You can find me in every comment for Potions of Pixels as well.
Love you, man.
Love you too. I don't know, but what am I playing now? I'm playing Hades, which I will just keep bringing up because when Michael plays it, he's gonna think about his Splunk is gonna move away. It's gonna be Hades for him. I
feel you. Because people like you recommend it, and Xavier and others, like I gotta get in on it for sure.
And I have zero fear about overhyping it. So
yeah,
go ahead. But right now I'm playing Hades, and I'm playing. I have Crosscode. I guess is a game that I just bought, so I need to play that. And I'm playing with Jordan, who was Tempest, who was here, playing a lot of Dota. So I picked up Dota, and I'm into MOBAs now. So after 10 years of not playing them, I'm getting addicted to them, and it's fun to jump on with friends and play with all of them together. So that's what I'm on. That's what I'm doing now.
Love it. Let's clap it up for Amar. Thank you so much. We always appreciate you being on here. You know what's funny, Amar? I need to call you to task on one thing, though. You said you were going to be, like, grumpy today. Was there a single game you didn't like, or a single... I feel like this is the happiest Amar we've ever had on this show before. You seem to like everything.
I have a feeling you, like... bobbed me on to the show because you knew that I would like all the games or something like that. It was a little bit off.
Part of the master plan, my friend. Get everybody out of their comfort zones.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate you so much. Layla, how about you? Where can people find you? What are you playing? All that good stuff.
I am Angelic Layla, and you can find me in the Athena Alliance as one of the Stream Team goddesses, as well as Legend. I am the goddess of duality. You can catch me playing Shinobi Striker on my channel. On my social media is Angelic Layla. I started doing cooking TikToks on TikTok. But pretty much, and you can find me here. Indie Game Night.
Love it. And what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing. I took a break for a little bit. The transitioning and whatnot. But I've just been playing Shinobi Striker and Sakuna of Rise and Ruin.
Nice.
I always play Among Us every Tuesday. Yeah, that's about it.
I'm gonna have to talk to you, all of you all. Maybe we can have a brief moment. I know some of you may have to go. I don't want to hold you off, but maybe at the very end, for those who can stick around a little, I would love to hear your thoughts about. I know Emmy at the Athena Alliance and others had some interesting takes in the chat about where Among Us fits in terms of impact versus innovation. So maybe if we have a couple minutes left, I might ask you a couple things there. But let's clap it up for Layla. Thank you, as always. Rocking that amazing shirt you made as well. I appreciate that as always, too. Thank you, thank you. Awesome. Derivative. Let us know, where can we find you and what game are we playing? I imagine the game you're about to say is going to be so... I'm going to have to Google it right now. I feel like you beat me, Derivative, always, for you take it to another level. Then. I love it.
I'm Derivative. You can find me over on twitch.tv/Derivative. I stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where I do obscure games, which I describe as things that are overlooked and underrepresented. For tomorrow's stream, because it's Thursday right now, I'll be playing a little bit more of the Haunted PlayStation 1 Madvent calendar.
Nice.
I've got 2 days to catch up on that. And in commemoration of a certain semi-futuristic looking game that just came out today, I will be not playing that. I'll be playing a game called Sense, which is a cyberpunk horror ghost story. It's inspired by Clock Tower, and it uses Cantonese folklore.
Interesting. Okay, maybe you can drop that link in there.
Okay.
That sounds really
that sounds cool.
Richard, I do have to ask you one quick thing about it. Like, are you, what's your whole stance on, I remember Tim Schafer over at Double Fine kind of made a point at one time about some of the games and said that he felt like some of the most hardcore fans almost wanted the games to be so obscure so that it was just theirs, like intimately. And it's kind of like he talked about that love and hate relationship with the fans who he obviously loves and appreciates, but almost felt like that they didn't want to like spread it too far. I'm not accusing you of this in any way. No. I'm just curious as far as like the obscurity label. It's kind of interesting because it's like in some ways it's you obviously want to highlight games that truly are maybe they self-embrace the term obscure, but I'm curious what your thoughts are about that kind of.
I try to by using the term obscure, I'm trying to like reclaim its negative connotation.
Gotcha.
I am completely anti-game gatekeeping when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
I want people to experience these games, to check them out, to make them not obscure anymore. Hence, they came from obscurity is why I call it that on my stream.
Very thoughtful in that way.
Yeah, so that's why I tend to focus on games that may have very little reviews on Steam or maybe brand new on itch. They just have not been getting that attention. They may have been overshadowed. In the case of, because I do play occasionally some non-indie games that are that just kind of came out at the wrong time. They got overshadowed by other things like Cold Fear, which was released right at the crux of Resident Evil 4. Actually was being worked on before Resident Evil 4. And people think it's a Resident Evil 4 clone, even though it was started before.
That's where I get hipster about things, where I have to call people out on stuff. I always hate that when other people like call out other games as a clone, when in reality, like it. Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you as always, George. You know how much we love and appreciate you being on all these episodes so much. Let's clap it up for Derivative. Again, make sure to like and follow, subscribe, all that good stuff to all of our amazing guests here. Make sure to do it. That's how one way you can definitely show your support here for sure. Tony, hit us with that info.
Hey guys, my name's Tony Tiger 90. You can find me on a bunch of social media platforms. You probably look at my Twitch, but there's nothing on there. Definitely, I always like to say I like to play video games. But games that I have on rotation right now is actually, like I said, an indie game called Outbreak that I've been testing out for a little bit. Really enjoying it. And then I've been playing a lot of the Ys series. So I've been playing a lot of Ys Origin as well as Ys 8. This is probably my second playthrough of Ys 8.
Nice.
Really enjoying that series. Really not sure how I didn't get, bigger than what it is. But definitely would highly recommend it. So Ys is spelled Y-S.
Nice.
Now, will you be checking out East 9?
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, you can totally say we've said much worse on here, Tony. Much worse.
Anymore. All right, hell yes.
Yes, free to say whatever you want for sure.
Yeah.
Reanimate Joe and King of the Nerds loving that choice there too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tony. We appreciate you as always, my friend. Let's clap it up for Tony. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And finally, Legend of the Star. What are you playing right now, and where can people find you?
Alrighty, so that Layla mentioned, I'm the goddess of indies.
Love it.
I own that shit.
Yeah, you should.
I love it. So basically, you can find me on Twitch. It's the only place that I stream. I thought about maybe Facebook, but I only wanted to do that once to show my family what I do. You get those questions. What do you mean you stream? What does that do? So I thought, since my family's on Facebook, I might do that once. But for the most part, I just stream on Twitch, Legend of the Star. Same name on all my platforms, so Xbox, Instagram, Steam, right? You guys want to play a game with me? Add me on Steam. I'm down anytime. I got invited to a couple of betas, so I'm going to be streaming those this week.
Nice.
There's this game, I don't know if you guys saw my Twitter, about Galahad 3093. It's a mech-based hero shooter.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Sci-fi adventure. Yeah, so I got accepted to that, so I'm going to be playing that. And then Scavengers opened their closed beta. I don't know if I can stream that, though, because they didn't want anyone to stream the playtest, but It's sort of like a sandbox PvEVP. Did I say that right? PvEVP.
Yeah.
Type of game where I would kind of liken it to sort of like Apex / Defiance. You know what I mean? Like it's very, it's a competitive shooter, but you're not just playing with other people. There's other like NPCs, like the alien world that you're on that you have to like contend with too, and you have to like forage for supplies and stuff like that. So I think it's got a good beginning. They're both indies. I think they've got a good start to it. Who doesn't want to ride a mech warrior, right? Or
That's
like,
awesome.
Fight other people, collecting data and shoot aliens at the same time. So I'm excited to play those two, and I guess they're more like indie shooters.
Those sound awesome.
So that's going to be my plan. Yeah. Plus, the other indies from it. I have, as you guys know, my notebook.
Your notebook full of stuff for sure.
Yeah, I have a list. So I've got tons of indies that I plan on playing, and I want to focus more on like series type stuff. I don't know. I'm a messy streamer, so I say that I'm going to play this game this week, and it never turns out that way. So I try my best. But I'm mostly just a variety indie streamer. But those are the two games I think I'm going to focus on now.
Love
for
it.
a little bit. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you as always, Legend. Let's clap it up for Legend of the Star. Make sure to like and follow and subscribe to that content from Legend. We see some clapping it ups. Woo Legend from King of the Nerds right here. Congrats from Reanime Joe. For sure. I've actually been playing some Tetris Effect lately. I haven't actually been playing I'm playing Tetris Effect Connected. I had it originally in VR and got the new version. And I haven't really been playing the multiplayer, which a friend of mine, shout out to Evan, he's been playing a lot of the multiplayer and he's been trying to get me on that. So I'm hoping to get on that. But I've been really vibing to the music, the psychedelic feel. I'm a huge fan of Tetris anyway, so I feel like I can never get away. That's probably the game, if I was stuck on an island, I would want with me for sure. Cool. Well, we're going to continue our tradition of sending and rating to another channel, but I did, if folks are interested, if folks got to go, I know, Tony, you probably got to go. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Dinner.
Yeah, I know you always got like, I don't want to hit you. So if any folks got to go real quick, but I would love to hear some folks' thoughts quick about something that was in our little chat about games being awarded for innovation versus popularity or vice versa. Do you guys want to stick around just for a few minutes on that?
I will.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Oh yeah.
You're good? Okay, people are good. Layla, Legend, you guys are okay for a little bit more? Okay. I'm hoping my bladder's going to be able to hold off because I've been drinking. So I'm literally kind of going like this. If you see me like rocking and... that's the reason. I want to, quick question about that. We got Courtney right here, as you can see, jumped into the stream here. For those who don't know, Courtney is our 7th guest, who's always hits us with a hot take and question. So that's what Courtney wants to know. What do you guys think about games that, like Among Us or Fall Guys, or things that in some ways are innovative and in some ways are maybe not, and maybe overshadowing other games that are or more so, but they do have a big impact. I think many of you guys know, I guess, my stance on Among Us. I think I think it will be remembered as a game that brought social deduction to the mainstream on the video game side. I can't say it's a game that I particularly really like so too much. I do love, if you know me, I'm a huge fan of social deduction games and have like a mental catalog super long. I love that genre, and let me say this, I do like Among Us, but I feel like it's very overrated. And I'm curious to how you all think. I know Emmy in for the Athena Alliance was saying, well, it should be awarded based on the amount of impact it had in the world, and it certainly has had an undeniable impact, and it deserves a lot of praise for that, and shout out to Inner Sloth and all those people there. But what do you all feel like in terms of the awards in light of the Game Awards still streaming now? When you give awards or shout outs, do you consider innovation or impact or both, or what do you all factor in?
I would say both. I'd say vision and impact. I want to be able to go from a video game, I guess, kind of like feeling something almost, like whether it's like nothing deep, I don't want to it's cool when you play a game when you have something like profound, like some of the indies that we play.
Yeah.
That always have like a deep message behind, what they're trying to come across. And, I just want to enjoy the game, I feel you on Among Us though. I like it and I don't like it. I like playing it with friends. I love the game nights that we have, like with the Athena and like others. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
It's not something I would play solo. I wouldn't be like, hey, I feel like playing Among Us. Like, it's just not my. It's really not my jam.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say
really
I don't
isn't,
think it's
yeah.
a bad game, but I think it's a great social experience. Like in many ways, it can be more enjoyable and fun than many other games. So I'm definitely not knocking. I think what it does well.
Great. I think it's funny. I love the memes that people do. I love the 3D stuff you see like on the little Facebook videos.
sure.
Like that's hilarious. I love that stuff when it comes to Among Us. But as like for gameplay itself, it's just not something that I'll play a game, but I'm not gonna like actively like, oh, let's screen capture. Like I just don't.
Yeah, several people are saying they enjoyed best with friends. King of the Nerds is saying indies that went mainstream ? Am I being a little too pretentious with this? Like, honestly, like, shouldn't we be like, when an indie game gets super successful, we should certainly be
It's
excited for them, right?
Because when an indie game gets super successful, people equate it to AAA, and so then it just gets lost, and then no one's like, oh wait, that was an indie. Like, and it just bugs me. It bugs me, because it's like, yes, this game is an indie. Like, I feel people on the whole devolver digital thing. What they don't know is that they have been innovative in indies for a very long time, but they think it's AAA, and it's like, no, bro.
Yeah.
I'll fight you. Like, it's not AAA. Like, there's these companies that are out there that are not AAA. Their titles just happen to be important, and I don't. It's like, why can't they just stay indies? Why do they have to why do you got to change their name, their title? Like, that's not what they were meant for.
That's a good point.
So a lot of people are playing indies, and they don't even realize that they are. Like, people sleep on it.
Yeah.
So that bugs me. That's
how do you all
really
feel about that? That's a great point, Legend. The whole idea that, I mean, if this is Indie Game Club, we should be celebrating and embracing indie games and developers when they are super successful and saying, like, one of ours made it, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, definitely, I feel you on that, and definitely in that camp of praising success and celebrating folks from the indie world.
I just want to add, I would say it's more than just the game itself. It's also the context that we are around. I feel like Among Us kind of became popular for more than just being a game, right? Like, we are now in quarantine, so this is a way for us to get together. It's also a great way. People are finding out that it's a great way to play together and fool each other, and it's almost like that board game that they can now play together in a way. Also, it has a huge social impact that we cannot ignore with the some people from the government officially coming in now streaming a game like this and becoming some of the highest streamed. So, is it a game for me? I told people that I kind of hate it. I only play with my friends and so on, but I would not deny how important it is and how big it was for this year. And as we look back in the future, we will look back into this and see oh yeah, Among Us, remember all this hype, and
for sure.
Then more people were inspired to come up from it. I don't give credit to the full credit to the team. I mean, they were there at the right place, right time. Good job on them. Great game. I mean, if someone can argue that it's one of the most influential for this year, sure, I'll take that argument. I won't deny it. But at the same time, it's yeah, I get it. That's cool. Congrats. I'm happy with them.
And they've been at it for several years, so total shout out to them.
Of course. Yeah.
That game didn't become popular until 3 years after it came out.
Yeah, so big shout out to
the right time, right? This was the right time for a game like this to come out.
For sure. And and Layla, I'm curious about it because I know you play it a lot. A lot of the Athena Alliance folks play it a lot. And I guess my question, for you is, as far as, was this... I think oftentimes people remember their first experience with within a genre the most fondly. And so I'm curious if one of the reasons that you or others have been enjoying it so much is because you hadn't played. I don't know if you have or not, the other social deduction stuff first. So I'd imagine social deduction games, I think, are the most exciting field of board games for me, and now seeing it in video games is really cool. So I can imagine that excitement of the first time of experiencing this new genre that has people bluffing, deception, and bringing in so many game elements that have not been pulled that often, especially on the digital side. What are your thoughts about that?
So playing Among Us, I haven't played anything like it prior.
Yeah.
No. So definitely, when I first started playing it, I'm still horrible at it. I'm still, to this day, will say that I'm horrible at it. I think I'm just...
I do love watching your clips. of you playing. I love that. Those are great.
I think I'm just more entertaining. I don't ever. I played with people who are actually really good at it. Like as far as not being so dramatic, but actually trying to figure out who the imposters are.
Yeah.
So I played different ways. My favorite way to play is with people that I know and that I'm not gonna like. No one takes it personally. It's really important to play it with non-toxic people.
You
It's
say
really
that again.
important.
You are right about
It
that.
is oh my gosh, it makes all the difference. When somebody wanted me to play with them, and I was kind of like skeptical just because they had all known each other prior, and I'm just like jumping in, and that person always gets voted out regardless because they all know their play styles, and like you have to do that little transition period where if you're playing with people, you might want to play with them for a minute,
Sure.
to learn everything. But I play with the same people every Tuesday, and these are people that I've known for years, so nobody takes anything personally.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, granted, there are things that happen, and it's like, I can't believe you did that, but then it's like new game, and it's over with. So you really have to make sure you're playing with some great people.
That's a great point. And there's a term that's tossed around often in the board game world, which probably needs to be tossed around more in the video game world, but it's group dependent. And so, like, oftentimes people will, when they say a board game, they'll say it's very group dependent, meaning exactly what you said there, where your experience, you playing with one group of people could be wildly different experience from playing with another group of people. Just like also when people get into it too, like just the excitement, like a party game, for example, if you're playing with people and nobody's talking and everybody's, buttoned up and whatnot, it's not the same experience, right? So I totally feel you on that for sure. Are you interested now in exploring other like social deduction stuff, like in the board game and video game side? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I would definitely. If someone were to recommend, I probably wouldn't find it on my own, but if someone were to recommend one, I would definitely be interested.
I'll definitely hit you up with some more for sure.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
I think that the most exciting thing I'll say about this, just as somebody who's super passionate about social deduction, is I feel like this is still an area that's not really been fully explored, and it taps into something that's so human, like interactions. I love board game versions specifically because you can read people's like facial, bluffing, all that aspect to it. But that's a layer that can't really be simulated by like a computer or anything like that, like the human element to it. So I love.
Gosh, if people could see my face, they would definitely know I was lying. Like they would definitely know I was lying.
No
I've gotten
face, huh?
better. No, just me in general. Like if you've seen my gameplay, if you've seen been on my channel, if you just know me as a person, I'm very animated, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'll sell myself out so fast.
I totally feel you on that. I mean, that's part of the fun too, like getting to explore different like personalities and different types of people. Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That's why, like I said, I'm super excited to see this genre kind of break into the mainstream. And in that way, it should be celebrated because I really hope that now that people have played Among Us, they have like a common kind of like lexicon to build off of, right? It's kind of like with like MOBAs and other stuff. I feel like a lot of these things, like Amar, I know you're playing a lot of MOBAs, like those games are very complicated, but then you can kind of like introduce people to it. And then once people have that language, they know what a MOBA is, you can add an additional layer or whatnot. So, I love that factor to it. Derivative, what about you as far as like the whole innovation versus kind of like impact debate? I take it that you're not necessarily for the game awards in the indie category. Would you have nominated any of those 5 games in your personal 5 list?
I personally would not have, just because I have not played them.
Gotcha.
But going with the innovation versus the impact, I think it is important to recognize both the pioneer that created the style, as well as those who have like I don't want to say perfected, but have like popularized it.
Yeah.
Like you're saying with Among Us being very much like a werewolf style. While it is very derivative in that sense, it did add the element of the mini games thing.
Yeah.
That really a part of it. You think of things like also Minecraft as well. Minecraft started off as a game called Infiniminer.
Yes.
That was made by Zachtronics.
That's right.
Has seen success since then, but obviously Minecraft was the one that became huge. And it's important to recognize, not only the popular one, but where it started from.
Yeah.
We've got this whole genre called roguelikes, and rogue roguelike came from was
Yeah.
a like old ass computer terminal game. That it's important to
Pay homage and respect. Yeah.
to acknowledge the history, but also respect the present.
Yeah, I feel you on that, and I will say to Minecraft's credit, the creator Notch Marcus Pearson did give credit throughout to
Yes.
The Zachtronics
Infiniminer.
developer, Infiniminer, and it's one of those cases where it's not necessarily a tragedy because Zachtronics has gone on to such levels of success that they're not like
absolutely
that it's not like they had this one opportunity and this one idea and they never saw it. They did some.
He actually said that he is happy that kind of genre of games existed, so more people can play it. So
Yeah.
he's taking the good side out of it.
Exactly.
For this.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that was my big question. I don't know if you guys have any other last thoughts about this before we call it a night, but I definitely think it's an interesting question because we all have different kind of standards at which we judge things, and I think the debate about underrated, overrated is part of that too, right? Like you guys have heard me say all the time, like the scale of underrated, overrated is separate from the scale of like quality. Like Fortnite's a good game. Like, I'm not going to just sit here and be like, it's horrible. It's a good game. It's way overrated for where it is quality-wise. And I think that is a big question, I guess, that we should all ask ourselves as we're evaluating all this stuff. Awesome, folks. Well, unless there's anything else here, I'm going to end, as we always do, by rating a friend of ours stream. I see fellow Athena Alliance member Zelda and Fairies on here. Why don't we raid her channel right here? So stick with us for one more second while we do that. Make sure to show her some love. Let me make sure I'm getting this spelling right here. I'll initiate this raid and we will sign off. Did I do it wrong? I always do it wrong. Is it the /
Is it for rating?
What's that? Oh no, it's rating. Okay, it's working. Okay, everybody jump onto that. Let's go raid over to